Welcome in everyone to the Valcast podcast. I'm your host Caleb Peng, and I'm joined by the clown himself, who's not clowning enough, Anicor. And if you're looking at the YouTube version, you know what I'm talking about. This man says he has lipstick on. What kind of lipstick is this?
I actually do, yeah. Okay, look, here's the thing in it, yeah. What I've realized after putting on this lipstick in it, yeah, is that
You got
I
red
can't
lips.
just borrow my sister's stuff and and do some because it's just not clown enough.
This
innit?
looks like your regular lipstick. Yeah. Where's the
Well,
blush
I
on the
mean, I don't wear.
cheeks?
Yeah, I guess I could have done that as well. Yeah.
Oh man,
Yeah.
you owe me. I think
How many
5
did-
weeks. Five.
5.
I think it's 5 now.
That's a lot.
That is a lot. You're definitely clowning into next season for sure.
Why is it 5? Surely it's not 5.
Because you skipped so
It's
many
5.
weeks. You weren't here last week. You skipped the
Yeah,
week
but that doesn't
before
count. I
at the
also
tier
reached it
list.
before last week anyway. So.
But you weren't on the podcast. What you mean it doesn't count?
Yeah. Okay. That as in that's not like an O because it wasn't there. Do you know what I mean?
Did you hit when have you hit legend yet?
Yeah. It was last
When?
week. It was before the last one,
Let me see the
which
proof.
it wasn't there for. Or what? Of that, it was before the last one.
Yeah. No, it's because you still owe a week because you have to be on the podcast doing it.
Yeah. No. But,
because
okay,
you missed an episode, you owe a week
Wait,
of the stuff because you literally
okay,
weren't even on the episode with the makeup.
What week did you reach again?
I reached before EYC. It was before April.
Okay. What, the week before USC?
Yeah, the week before you. It wasn't even April yet. Or maybe it was just April. It was like April 2nd or something. But it was before we recorded that week.
Okay, April 2nd.
I think it was April 2nd or 3rd.
Okay. And I've done only one.
You've done only one.
I've only done one.
All right, so let's put it this way, right? So April, we'll just count it out if you want. All right, so if I got it before we recorded April 2nd or so, I think when we recorded, yeah. So I hit it before we recorded because we recorded on like later that day. So the first week would have been April 2nd, right? So week 1.
Okay, so that one's done, and then
and then
I owe
the
next one.
Yep.
The next one, so that's 2. The next one, that's 3.
No, it's 4. What do you mean? Oh, because you did 1. Yeah. Okay, so you're 3. Okay,
So
3. All right.
And then
we're on.
Was the
and then
next one last
30th.
Week? I was
no. The next no. Last week was no because we still didn't do the week of the 30th. So that's another one. That's 4.
What was the week? No, that was last week, was it?
No, last week was the 7th. We're already on the 13th. Yeah.
Okay, 4. So I owe 4.
No, and then you didn't show up last week, so it's 5.
How does that mean I owe 5? That
because you have to wear the makeup on the podcast. If you call in sick, you can't skip a week.
It's about I don't skip a week, but I reached it before that week anyway. So.
Wait.
So I reached it on like Go Battle Weekend.
You reached out Go Battle Weekend?
Yeah.
Do you have a screenshot? Let me see your screenshot. Let me see that date. You got nothing? I was just taking your word on it. Because I know you ain't on the leaderboard. I can't just look you up.
Yeah, I got no proof.
What's your elo? Okay, let me see your elo right now. Let me peep that elo. Let me see that legend icon at the very least.
All right.
You know what I'm at right now? I'm all the way in that leader. I'm 34, 40 something.
Yeah,
my team been murking. It been wild. I see Yakai. No problem, right? I haven't seen the Half Empire yet. See my teammate Rock Haven.
No, you don't want to.
Plus 1 night, no problem. People be running the stupidest stuff in the high elo. Shadow Charm 9-tails with a Carbink in the back. And they'll just stay into a Shadow Empoleon lead.
Yeah, I guess you can't really do much.
I know it's not expert logo. Yeah, that's close enough. Okay, so if you hit it last week.
So it's just
whatever.
4.
All right, 4.
And this is one of the 4.
No, so this is not one of the 4. This is the standard week. No, this is one of the weeks. No. It's 4 additional that you owe on top of the ones you already did.
I did
this is
and this is one of the 4. So it was 5 weeks overall. I did 1. This is the second one. So 3 weeks. Hey, look.
This is
people can check my maths. And actually, 3 weeks is not
Yeah,
bad.
but
You know?
this makeup is
That
still
does need
pretty
some time.
sketch. Not gonna lie, you look like just the exact same as last week. You better get lipstick or something. That doesn't look like lipstick. That looks like
It
your
is,
actual
look.
lip color. Not gonna lie, your lips are naturally pretty red. Because when I was at EUIC and I saw you,
Uh,
I was like, dang, you got lipstick on or what? It was like kind of
yeah.
glossy too. And this wasn't the Misty day. This was the
Yeah.
day before Misty.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you put
Yeah.
something on? Did you put lipstick on or
No,
something?
no, 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 no. I
Oh, but you
just,
know what I'm
yeah.
talking about, right? Your lips are
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
naturally red. So then why the heck did you not buy actual lipstick? This is not. This is
Because I
you got
thought it
like
would
lip
work. I don't
gloss.
wear
What was
lipstick.
this? Yeah,
I
you
don't
need
wear
the
lipstick.
most
I don't know.
egregiously red thing you can
I just,
see, right?
yeah,
I
I just
want you're
assumed that
supposed
they
to
might
look like a
work.
clown after this, not just a regular person with glossy lips. All right,
I thought it would
just
work.
no,
Yeah, it didn't
no,
work.
no.
Didn't work.
Anyway, welcome back from Greece. How was it?
It was sick, man. Honestly, a Greek wedding. I want a Greek wedding, man. This thing was 3 days long. Um, on each day we had like uh dinner at a different place, and like one would be like overlooking the Acropolis, one would be overlooking like Temple of Hephaestus. There's just got bare stuff to overlook, you know, like
Uh
right in the
huh.
middle of town, which obviously makes sense.
How's the cost of
Um,
living there? Is it like cheap or is it super
yeah.
expensive? It
So
is really.
apparently it's relatively cheap. One of my friends, she's got a remote job living there but working here. So she's like
Oh, she
eating, yeah,
dipping,
yeah,
dipping. But
literally,
she probably she
literally.
pays her taxes still in UK taxes, right?
Yeah, but it's still worth it. Yeah.
Oh, I bet.
Uh,
Yeah.
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 And like I don't know, I got like I had to get like an Airbnb for one, or not an Airbnb, but like just like a hotel for one night because like I arrived a bit early. Um and in the middle of the city again, yeah, it was like 20 quid.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because you
for
better be
just like a
saving
little
up for
one
Hawaii
hotel.
because that thing ain't gonna be cheap. I'm just saying.
I know. Yeah,
U.S. know how to rob people,
yeah. Yeah.
their own, even their own citizens. All right,
Yeah.
let's go into YouTube comments because we have a lot to cover. Maybe I might.
Oh, yeah, because flipping comments on
It's yeah from 3 episodes
the
straight.
list.
Yeah, because we had the tier list, so we didn't cover that one
Yeah,
from,
yeah, because we
and
didn't
then
go on.
we had Rise
Yeah,
on for the last one.
yeah. Feels
Did
like
you listen to
ages.
episode with Rise?
Nah.
What? I ain't retell my RuneScape story to you here. What's
Wait.
going
Oh,
on?
okay. I thought you told it on that episode. I was
I
like, right.
did tell it on the episode. That's why I'm
Did
saying I'm
you?
not retelling it because I
Oh,
already
I
told it.
was
You got to listen back.
thinking it
You
would
got to
be.
co-host this. Don't show up for the job and don't make up for the work that they missed. Wild,
Yeah, man.
wild. That's
Yeah.
something to
I only
be in
got back
the.
like just before the weekend, and then the whole
You could have
weekend
just
was
listened
kind
on
of
the plane. I
recommencing
don't
stuff.
understand. What do you
I
mean?
didn't think that far ahead. I can't lie.
You didn't have to think that far ahead. What do you mean you don't think that far ahead? You didn't have. It was less than a week ago. What do you mean you think that far
Yeah.
ahead?
It was
you
peak. I
acted
literally had
like
no
you
content
acted
on the
like you had to
plane as
plan a
well.
wedding or something. What? You know you could download ahead of time.
Yeah, I know. I had no content on the plane because, like, when I said I didn't think that far
This
ahead, I did
guy,
not
this guy
think
got to
that
do
far
his
ahead.
homework. That's all I'm saying.
I had nothing to do on the plane, bruv.
All right.
Uh,
Anyway, let's go with this is from the accessibility episode from 148. Let's go with
mm,
comments here. Tiwasa says, appreciate all the hard work from Battle Frontier folks, but these spreadsheets can be frustrating, pretty frustrating at times. I totally agree with Anicor that I miss being able to scroll through different divisions and easily see all the scores and results. Hopefully, these spreadsheets are just a temporary measure until they transition to Dracoviz or a full-fledged tournament platform of their own. Any works on a partnership with Dracoviz that you know about?
no, as far as I know, no.
Mm.
Like I imagine they're gonna use their own website, which again is fine. But I'd also like to see some improvements. Okay, this was the last week of Battle Frontier. Okay, I didn't really clock. All right, let me just shout
What
out.
did you all end at?
So we ended at. It's a bit of an iffy one, right? Either technically we ended at 8th place.
Out of how
Um,
many?
oh
Yeah, 4 rounds. So same amount of
yeah,
teams as.
So same amount.
Okay, eighth place. So 2 and
So
2.
technically we ended at 8th place, which does qualify us for the top tier, which is nice.
It does.
Um,
Oh,
yeah,
because there's
not for
not as
you
many
lot,
tiers
because
in EU.
yeah,
Yeah,
we have
yeah.
no
I see. I
tiers yet.
see. Yeah.
As in, like you lot have players already in it, so only
Yeah.
two of yours are going in
Yeah.
each.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it qualifies us for top tier. Um, However, the last match of our thingy wasn't able to be played due to like some communication issues on both sides. So could have been higher because I think the like the of the top 8, the bottom 4 or even the bottom 5 were like the difference between like 3 points difference in terms of like actual, game win points. So yeah.
All right,
Big
I
fan.
gotta say, you talking all this smack about us not performing well, and you perform worse than us.
What do you mean?
We finished off in 6th.
You finished off in 6th, yeah? You had 10 teams, bruv.
What do you mean? You had 10 teams too, no?
No, we had 40. Like I said, we don't have tiers. Yeah, so
What do you
everyone's
mean?
competing.
No, I mean in the playoffs.
Oh, in the playoffs, we came first. Wait, no. In the playoffs, yeah, there's 40 people. You lot
There's
only have
40
like 10.
teams in the
Yeah,
playoffs.
you lot only have
Yeah,
10
but
teams.
it's
Because
open though. That doesn't matter. It's like you got everyone in there.
No,
If you
no.
throw in,
So they do. So basically, did
yeah,
you do the group stages?
we did the group stages. Yeah,
Yeah. So they take the top 4 of like the thingy into the group from the group stages.
yeah.
And they take them to the playoffs, and then there's like 40 teams or whatever.
Yeah, but
And then
if
they
you
do
take
4
like
rounds of Swiss.
teams that are considerably worse,
Bruv,
if we
you
throw
left-
if we throw in the next 30 teams, trust me, we'd still be 6th.
Okay,
right?
your record was 3-1. Our record was 3-1. So
No, our record was 2-2 actually.
oh! Look at this guy.
Who did he play?
Look at this guy.
Who did y'all play? Who did y'all play?
Now his tune is changing.
No, I didn't say anything. We still got 6. We still finished better. What do you mean? The competition was harder. Obviously, we went 2-2.
That's
like
not
saying-
how it works,
that's
bro.
like saying you got-
people in your team, bro. You had 10
Yeah,
people in
and
your
they're
team. That's
good
not how
teams.
it works, man.
And they were good teams. Where do you
Bruv,
want me?
look,
No, it wasn't 10. It wasn't.
The
it wasn't 10.
bottom
It wasn't 10.
place of your tier, yeah, the bottom place of your playoffs will finish 12th, yeah, which is higher.
We had 14. We had 14 teams.
Okay, 14, yeah.
Yeah.
14th place of playoffs, yeah,
Uh-huh.
will finish higher than 50% of European teams because there's only 14 teams. So of course you're gonna finish higher, bro.
We face better teams.
Nah, man, this is some I don't know
Yo,
what
we
Caleb
face
Maths you've been whipping out,
A9
yeah, but,
Elites. Are they Indian team?
Yeah,
A9
yeah.
Elites. We started off
Yeah.
this week 12-0.
And then what? Yeah,
Well,
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
it was, yeah.
yeah.
What was there left to say?
I don't know, man.
Who did
I
y'all
don't
lose
even know
to?
why this is a thing, innit? Like you're
Who do y'all lose
comparing
to?
a tier with.
Yeah, you want to do a scrim? You want to do a scrim against us?
I think we're
Our
all
team?
out of it, man. This is the other thing I was saying. Yeah?
You know what? This will settle it.
I can't be bothered, man.
Throw up your best
Okay,
ancient
so
power players.
in terms
Same
of
rules. What are you stumbling about? Let's go.
Huh?
I'm
no,
flexible.
bro.
It doesn't-
I would play you,
doesn't-
yeah, but
It doesn't have to be
Huh?
this week. It could be next week. We can settle
I
it.
ain't doing it. Okay, look. This
It's
is
a friendly
the,
scrim. What do you mean? A low practice.
I would happily play you, yeah. But as mentioned by Slowbro, listener
Who's
of the
Slowbro?
podcast, and my opponent today, oh Slow
Yeah.
King, sorry, my bad. My
Uh-huh.
opponent this week, bruv, we've been playing for 13 weeks.
Yeah, you can take a week off if you want. What do you mean 13 weeks? So what? I've been put. Let
I
me put it
know.
this way.
It's a
Let me
long
put it this
time.
way. It
Huh.
is a long time. You know how long factions went on for? How long factions? went
Like
on
a few years or something.
for? On top of that, go team up, right?
Okay.
I didn't skip a single one. Not a single week of factions. I'm not the person you complain to about went out for a while, right? I played every single possible game that I could in factions and Battle Frontier and Go Team Up. Argument Arkansas PvP, I think I did all of them too.
I don't know
But
what to say,
don't
man.
if you want a week break, that's fine. You want a month off? That's fine. You let me know. You hit us up, right?
Don't
let
worry,
me know when-
before
if you wanna
before
settle
next
this.
cycle.
If-
Okay.
you wanna settle
Before
this,
next cycle, yeah.
Yeah.
Whenever we're doing our little like practicing for the next cycle, yeah.
No. Let's not
do
do a new meta. Let's do this meta. Right? You guys are 3-1 in this meta, right? Like top of EU, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's play in this meta. Let's play in the meta you're all comfortable in. I don't want no
Nah.
excuses.
I
Right?
don't
What do you
wanna
mean?
play
Nah,
anymore.
come on, let's go.
I don't want to play anymore. I think
Wait,
look,
it's just 1 week. What's one best of 3 per person? You know, you don't have to hop in no calls.
It's
It's
long,
an
bruv.
exhibition.
honestly, towards the final like couple weeks,
What you
or
scared
even
of?
I'm not scared of anything yet. I just don't want to play anymore, innit? Like
What's another best of 3?
it's another best of 3.
Man's
in addition to like 13 best of threes we've been
Man's
doing.
playing the Bologna regional, and you're worried about this, right? The Bologna
So
regional's like the one off metas, right? And you're playing multiple best of threes
look,
there.
I'll play you on
Hopefully,
my own. I'll play all of your players on my own, except for the ones where I can't. But I'm not locking the whole team into something just
you know how to
for
lock in.
beef.
It's just 7 people. You have like 20 people on your roster, man. Look, I'm just saying, right? You're talking all this stuff, right? Let's settle it. Let's settle it.
Hey,
Let's
you know
see
what? Yeah.
who's better, NA or EU, right?
All right. Let me
Arguably,
just
you're a
say,
better
yeah.
EU team than we're a better NA team based on your maths,
Okay.
right?
So yeah. So you came middle of the table.
No, 6 out of
No,
14 is ahead of
hey,
the middle. What do you
seven,
mean?
7 out of 14. I'm looking at it now.
Oh, sorry, I did math wrong. But it's still. What do you mean? The top 7 out of 14 is still the top
Oh,
half.
bruv,
What do you
okay,
mean? It's the
yeah,
first
but
half. So I did
what
my
tier are
yeah.
they putting you in?
I don't know.
Is a good question. 'Cause I
I
think
think
it's
I
two teams per. I think it's 2 teams per tier.
I don't think we have enough tier. Someone said we might be the second highest tier or third highest tier. Third at a minimum, right? But I don't know.
I imagine
I don't
maybe
know.
third. So okay, what I
Are there
think it is, I
are
think
there
it's
that
two.
many tiers already? Are there that many NA teams already in tiers? Well,
Yeah,
also
man.
like
If you
the thing.
so
Oh, but the thing is, there's a lot of people that are in the higher tiers that are from different regions that might move over to the other regions.
2 are going over.
Okay.
I imagine it would be like EU Emperors and Sky Dragons, but I think what they will do to replace those 2, I don't know if they're picking 2 from the playoffs or they're just promoting up 2 more
Yeah,
from
that's
the tier below.
no, that's what we were wondering too. It's
Yeah.
unclear. I don't know. I could care less to be honest, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see
Yeah.
how that goes.
Anyway, moral of the story:
Is
Battle Frontier
and
was
of course
very
too
long.
scared to go on a head to head.
You know what? Let's go for that. Why not? Why not?
Let's settle. Let's settle. Yeah, let's set a
Uh,
date. Let's set a date. Let's set a date.
this guy wants
What
to
the,
work
is
his
there a regional next week? No, there's no
work his
regional next
team
week.
like.
Work my team.
Yeah.
Well, connotations
Flipping,
of that the action's a little wild. Not gonna lie.
I was thinking more like Moses building the pyramids in it, but
That's also a little wild too, given how that was done. It wasn't his buddies building the pyramid. Okay.
someone was building it.
Yeah, they were not his friends.
It was your team.
No,
Building the pyramid.
Some interesting
Anyway,
imagery. All right, anyway, let's go to the next comment. We'll figure it out from here. Eighth grade says, "Damn, I thought Coriander got sick again, but it was just the clown makeup." I was like, "Man's looking gone." The light on one side plus clown makeup on the other side made it look like he was just pale AF. Shout out to Anicor, the EU, IC, and Orlando. Went up quick after my last comments. I think the LATAM CP is kind of low. They have the same amount of regionals and special events as EU, and next season they'll have locals for the start of the season. Anicor probably puts in a code name because he doesn't want to drop his legal name at the clown shop store. If you hear the here in order for Goku Coriander, it's him for sure. Oh man, I love how eighth grade just spitballing all the responses.
Yeah.
I don't believe there are IV reducing items. You might be thinking the EV reducing bears or mochi. Also for VG. Oh really? I thought like the most recent expansion had IV reducing items.
I don't know.
I
You
could have
know what
sworn I
though? That
saw that
said,
on the it was like the next like the Go Direct or like the Pokemon Director or something or teaser last year.
the
Like
thing
right
is,
before
I've still
Worlds.
seen because obviously they've had they're starting like in a legendary format just at the beginning of the month, and I was seeing things about um resetting for Calirexes and stuff like that, implying that you still have to reset if you want to get like 0 attack IV or something like that. So
Hmm.
it's possible.
Yeah.
I don't know for sure, but I have been hearing like people doing talking
Yeah.
about that.
Eighth grade also says also for VG getting certain meta mons require you to buy like maybe 3 different games. Getting a Landorus, Urshifu, Calyrex, and others may require other games as well as DLC in those games. Unfortunately, trading in VGC is unreliable with hacked mons. Yeah, I don't understand that. If they could detect it at tournaments, why don't they just build it in so you can detect it
I
so
have
that
no
like
idea,
you're
man.
just like You're just setting up some of your players for failure by not
Yeah,
allowing
so
that to
dumb.
be detected when trading.
Yeah.
Speaking to VGC players, I know in real life they all play Pokemon Go to get accessible legendaries and shiny legendaries for VGC. Something like an Amherst is quite popular for VGC because they only get one copy of the
Mhm.
bond and can't check the IVs in that
Interesting.
specific game, so it's easier for them to reroll for zero speed and Pokemon Go and Amherst. I think people are sleeping on how inaccessible VGC really is. I think that's fair to a degree, right? Like you have to get multiple games. Me personally, I think if I had to start from scratch tomorrow, and not about like obviously if I had the skills for Pokemon Go, I might just go Pokemon Go because I already know the game. But assuming that I have skills for neither, but I know how like all these things added up, I'd still probably pick up VGC for accessibility
Yeah, I
purposes.
mean, at least you can grind it out in it.
You could grind
Whereas,
it out, yeah. Like you
yeah,
can't like when are you gonna get a Registeel, right? Yeah, it's not coming back into rates
that's
for
it.
at least a
Yeah.
year. At least a year. If we're lucky, it'll be at some Go Fest event thing that you have to pay $1,000 to fly to and get lodging in to potentially get one, right? But like at least a year, so you have to spend what a lot of Stardust to get your first one. Find someone who's willing to, right? I don't know. It's just I get what they're saying though. VGC is probably not as successful as I made it seem that episode, but I think it'll probably cost some money. But like you don't think Pokemon Go costs money, right? To do all this stuff, right? Like to go to these events and
Yeah.
raid and whatever. I mean, there's a certain degree where you could play for free, but yeah, go out and play, and that's you're lucky if you live in a city. If you live in a rural area, good luck. But Infamous Smash says Battle Frontier isn't Sylph. No player profile, badges, bragging rights. We need PvPoke to design and build us a website. We would all pay $10 a month to be a member on said website. And
That's
they also
true as
said, I
well.
don't see Megas in Great League being good. Yeah, I think it's less so about it being particularly like OP, but if they continue with point systems, it could be like, oh, Charizard, 2 points. All right, 1 point on the point system. Mega Charizard, no points. And then you're like, well, everyone's just going to run cheap, like decent Pokemon are going to run Megas. So if you don't have Megas, you can't cash in on that. Obviously, I don't know what the point system is for next cycle. So like, don't quote me on it and don't say like it might be different. But I'm just saying, like in a point system format, it it could be not abuse is not the best word to describe it. It's more so some people can have the upper hand over others if they have access to a lot more mega energy and Pokemon because of that. But again, we don't know what it is. If it's just open Great League, open Ultra League, whatever, right? Then you'll use whatever you want. Then most people aren't going to use a Mega Charizard over non-Mega Charizard or Talonflame or whatever. But I think that's in the point system, that's where Megas can be a little bit concerning in terms of again, if you have the Mega Energy, great. But if you don't have the energy, then it could be a little, not so great. Infamous National said Go isn't accessible because it's a game you should have to play a while before jumping into battle. Um, he wrote a quote from Fast and Furious. You can't just climb in the ring with
well.
Ali because you think you can box. Yeah, I think that's a fair point, but I think I used to have this perspective too when PvP first came out. I don't think you were playing it as much. When PvP first came out, there weren't elite TMs. You couldn't TM legacy moves. So I was grinding for stuff like Dragon Breath Gyarados. You know how rare those were? From like so few people had it from the early days. They either transferred it or powered it up. To have one under 1500 was crazy because it was only around for like maybe a month or two of the game before they got rid of it.
Mad.
And to get a Gyarados that early on in the game was super rare too, right? Because you had
Yeah.
400
You
candies,
had
so a
to
lot
get
of people didn't even have
400 in
that,
it.
and
Yeah.
there were no rare candies back then, right? So you had to be hopefully in a water biome, and then you evolve it, which a Pokemon that already has high CP, getting it under 1500 is hard, and then they saved it for whatever reason and didn't power it up. I grinded so hard to find those, right? And like
How
I
did you
was
find
trading
one?
with, huh? I
How many
found
did you manage to
two.
find?
I
Two.
found two. One went over,
What?
one went under. And the
Oh,
one that went under, I was actually even powered up ones too, right? It went lucky too. They're almost guaranteed to be lucky too. The
yeah.
IV spread,
True.
which
True.
is
True.
always
Yeah.
scuffed. But either way, that I grinded so hard for that. Cross chop Machamp was legacy, and
Wow.
that was so hard to find too. Because how do you find Machamp under 1500? Who's going to save that, right? I found that too. I was grinding so every time I went to a new city, I'd be like writing in the trade channels. I'd be asking people in trade like cities I wasn't even in, considering just going there for it. I was grinding so hard for it. And
Man.
then they got rid of some of the legacy moves, and then they also added elite TM so you could just elite TM stuff. like Dragon Quest no longer legacy, Cross Shop's no longer legacy, right? But then they also like added Elite TM, so even if like Stoner's Blaze skin, right? I was hunting for that for a million
Mm.
years, right? But it is legacy, but you can Elite TM, so it's not a big deal. But I remember at the time I felt a little sour because I was like, man, like I just did all this work grinding for this, and what was the point? And now you could just everyone could build this, right? But thinking back on it, like after some time of reflecting on it, I just thought, you know what? It's still better for the game from accessibility standpoint. I shouldn't be the only one to get this to use this Dragon Ball Gyarados, especially if it's relevant in any meta right down the road, or Cross Shot Machamp, which obviously is relevant in multiple metas now
Yeah.
if there's Machamp in it. But it's from a gaming standpoint, it shouldn't be that hard to acquire something that might be good. It's not like Dragon Ball Gyarados was OP, but like it could have been good in certain formats, right? Or
Mhm.
limited formats. But yeah, it shouldn't be that hard. And then looking back on it, I was like, you know what? I was for the best for the game for PvP as well.
Yeah.
And that's my standpoint on this accessibility, right? It's harder to grow the game and get newer players involved if the barrier to entry is too high. And honestly, I personally don't care if it's not hard to build a full team. Like they might not have the best IV spread, and even if they have good IV spread, I actually don't really care that much because at the end of the day, if you start the game like and you play for a month, you face me in a tournament, I don't care if you have a full meta team. If you beat me, damn, good job to you, right? I mean, like that's on me, right? If I have like over 5 years of experience in PvP and I can't beat you, like that's on me. And that's actually a really good prospect for the game. Like, oh, that person's probably going somewhere. Or I really like fumbled to that set. But that's my thought at least, right? I think like if you like I think good competitive games shouldn't have that high of a barrier to entry. The barrier to being good is the actual skill difference, right? And the years of
Yeah.
experience. It shouldn't be what you can and can't use. That's at least my thought. And I think that's something that when I was playing before, like even Pokemon Go came out, when I was playing different mobile games, that was the thing that frustrated me with a lot of mobile games is how much of it was like kind of pay to win, right? Because like, yeah, you can play certain things for free, but eventually the microtransactions are what get you further ahead. And I think
Mm.
Pokemon Go used to be for a while one of those games where like the microtransactions didn't really help you too much. And I guess to a degree right now, like from competitive Great League, it's probably not that big of an issue still, but I am a little nervous that it'll get there. Um, yeah, because with all these different like paid stuff, but I don't know. Anyway, that's my thought on that. Honestly, a lot of the things in Pokemon Go accessibility you can't even buy yourself way to. So it's not even a money thing. It's just
Yeah.
it's a big grind thing. And me personally, I mean, this is just my take, right? So obviously, feel free to disagree if it's Smash or anyone else. But me personally, like, I think it's a cool concept. We could be like Ash Ketchum and go out in the world and be a Pokemon trainer and whatever, and full time and whatever. But that's not the reality, right? The reality is people have a lot of other things they have to do. No one's like most people are not a full time Pokemon Go trainer, right? They can't just go out and play. I mean, even like and I'm not trying to say, oh, my life's so tough, whatever. But like even for content creators that do this full time, it's not like we're playing Pokemon Go full time. Like we're editing videos, we're you know doing creating content. We're not grinding the game 24/7 like what Ash Ketchum did. I don't even know how the guy was even to survive off of whatever. Right? He just beats people on the street
Yeah.
and takes their money. I don't know
They
how he
definitely
survived
had
it anyway.
a government system going on in it
They
because
they had something. Something
uh,
was like, yeah, because who was working besides Nurse Joy and Officer Jenny? Like, ain't
yeah.
no one else was working. But anyway, that's just my take on that. But again, I would be okay if people could just like even just straight up use a rental tee for a tournament if they want to.
Mhm.
But that's just me. Infant Special says you shouldn't think you have to have it all if you're level 35 or lower and compete at a regional. Feels like trying to explain to the gym criers calling us grinders bullies for our level 40 pussy they couldn't beat. I put the time and effort in, and you want to spend a week and you think we're at the same level I am. I don't know. Pokemon Go's a lifestyle game. We aren't the same as VG or TCG. Time to grind kiddos. Yeah, so I mean, I think that's a perspective too. Me personally, I'd be okay if like a level 35 or under. I don't care if like a level 10 person has like meta Pokemon at a regional. Because again, just because you have a team doesn't mean you're gonna beat me in a regional,
Mm.
right? If you're beating me at a regional a month in the game, I messed up, right? Like I didn't play well or you played really well. Like I'm not worried, right? Me personally, I'll face someone that's just new into the game, a few weeks in or a few months in, any day over like someone else that's been playing the game for years. But that's just me because we see like the tweet updates. At least I don't know if you do, but because you might not follow them. But like on Arcanine, they'll send tweet updates of different tournaments, and they'll say total numbers for this upcoming tournament, like maybe LA, right? VG 600 something, TCG 1,000 something, Pokemon Go 90 or 100,
Yeah.
right? And they're capped, right? The other like opening more seats for VG and TCG
Yeah.
soon, right? They're capped, and this is like every event. Well, when we're struggling to hit 100 sometimes, right? We're not even close to the cap. We're not even halfway to the cap a lot of times. We're not even capped for NAIC. And it's hard to I don't know. It's hard to grow a game if there aren't enough people playing the game. Right? I don't know how you grow a game. Like people ain't just going to spectate a game and not play it, right? Everyone that spectates various games, you should play it too. That's what So I don't know. It's for the long term health of the game. That's my hope because my biggest fear is that this game just dies and just falls apart.
Yeah.
And sometimes we see remnants or signs of that to a degree, but I'm trying to go as strong as we can. But again, it could be frustrating at times if certain people are trying to get in the game and they just can't. But anyway, again, that's my take. Feel free to disagree, right? But that's just my thing. Niantic says they want this to be a forever game, but it's gotta. I don't know. We'll talk more about that later. Ryan Colgrove says, speaking of Battle Frontier, don't look now, but Caleb's Cats are down 0-2. Hey, we turned it around real quick, including beating one the Swablu on the side, right? One of those losses to none of the Swablu Syndicate. No cheese to be found here, sir. Only copium. He said, GG's. Jokes aside, nothing but love for your squad. Lots of friends on the other side. Yeah, we did. So we lost to SoCal, San Diego, which arguably is like one of their like it's like rivaling their gold team, their A team, but they don't really have A teams.
What's
like
that team called?
SoCal Swablu San Diego, or
Oh,
SoCal
right,
San
okay.
Diego. Yeah, they lost to the main team though by 1 this past week, so it was close. So they're very talented. But yeah, we were looking. It was like pretty neck and neck. And then freaking Palmer's up didn't bring a Whiscash answer in the freaking Serene meta. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, I don't know what I could have done. I was like, I didn't have an answer Whiscash. I was like, how do you not have an answer Whiscash? We're like, this is not week 1 or week 2 into the meta, right? Like, I think like part of our team, maybe this is not even a poly roast. It's just like a overall thing. We got complacent because we're just playing in the open tier. So like most of the teams like we're just running random stuff or just not as good skill wise. And we play in the playoffs and people just like ain't ready, right? Or just not on point with the gameplay in the first 2 weeks. So we had to clean it up a little bit. But hey, we took down another Swablu team on the following week, so we turned around a little bit. We turned around. I think we're still behind Sandy. Yeah, we're behind San Diego by a few points, so we'll probably end up being.
What
the same
were your
tier.
2 losses? So Born for Ashes and...
It was San Diego. San Diego by 1 point, and then Born for Ashes. And Born for Ashes didn't even do well. They went 2-2. They just
they lost to Pogoats in the last bit.
Did they? Who else did they lose to?
Who
Let me
else
check.
did they lose to? Elite TMs. So to be fair,
I mean, those were pretty good teams. They didn't have an
Elite
easy
TMs
bracket.
smacked it, man.
Well, that's what they get for beating us. First, they had to face all the tough teams. Born from Ashes, they got destroyed by Elite TMs, and then we got destroyed by them, so I can't even talk. And then they beat Antimatter Gaming by 1 point, and then they got beat by Pogoats in the final week.
Yeah,
interesting.
I think that's a very interesting. Like obviously, what other tournament structure can you use, right? But
you mean Swiss playoffs?
Yeah, like Swiss, but then the fact that it's like the difference between second and third is an entire tier. Do you know what I mean?
It's weird too because aren't there 2 undefeated teams or no?
No, just
there's just 1. Okay,
yeah. But then it's like the other team that goes into the top tier is this Inferno Overdrive, who are 3-1, the same as 3 other teams. But I
don't hate the system because there are tiebreakers, right? And just based on games won. So like I actually
but if
I don't think
if you, let's say, if you go up against, like, let's say one of the weaker teams, and you just like rack up loads of points there, um, then it might skew it. Considering, look, a 3-1 record can vary between the first tier down to the third tier, which is
Right.
mad. Do you know what
Yeah,
I
I guess
mean?
so.
But then I don't know if there's like a better way of doing it, really. But it's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's the playoffs too, right? Like theoretically speaking, the skill difference between the top team to the last team shouldn't be that big.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I don't hate the system. Like, I think they did fine with that. But we'll see how they address the various teams moving to different regions. Um, Justin Kimbu says, "Hi guys, interesting conversation around accessibility. The obvious answer is no. Pokemon Go is wildly inaccessible compared to with those other games. It's pretty obvious no matter which metric you use, and y'all pointed those out. I think most people are actually debating a different question: is that really a bad thing? I find myself a little torn and can see it both ways. And I see from the comments, I'm not the only one. On the one hand, making it more accessible would make it more available to a greater number of players and likely grow the game. So that's good. But it also negates one of the things I love about Go the most. I didn't realize it until this episode, but one of the things I really like about Go is the RPG aspect of the game. You really do have to go to get out there and grind to build your teams at time. For example, I love the Master League because I get to use mons I spent a lot of time and effort building. I really enjoy the RPG like experience in Go, and I'd be reluctant to lose it. I don't know where the right balance is necessarily, but I can see both sides. Also, keep calling it Twitter Anicor. I'm with you. Thanks, guys. I don't
Yeah, I'll
remember
never
you.
not call it Twitter, I'll be honest. That's a sick comparison though. Real life RPG.
Yeah.
I love that. And you know what? I do see that as well in terms of, I think there's a lot of value in that. Um, but we already accept that the competitive side of the game is wildly different to the rest of the game anyway, in terms of, like, the kind of things you're trying to get out of it. So I feel like there's definitely a way of having both, more accessible competitive, but then still having the whole RPG thing going on. You know what I mean? So even if it's right down to, like, okay, well, IVs aren't really, something you can decide on, but maybe we forget about IVs. At least, allow us to catch and build up a Great League version of them on, and that's fine. Do you know what I mean? And the IVs don't need to be perfect. So having that, like, relatively accessible, maybe whether it's through, I don't know, research tasks or just general
Yeah.
spawns or something like that.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, again, I've grinded this game a lot, right? I've over 500,000 catchers at this point, and less eggs hatched and rise occasion. You missed that on last week's episode, but you should listen to it.
Less. What's he
I
doing?
He's hatching eggs. I mean, to be fair, I don't hatch a lot of eggs,
Yeah.
but he's hatching eggs. Yeah, he's currently he's hatching Sableye to make a XL Sableye.
Oh, fair enough. Fair enough.
He's already targeted. I mean, I think
Yeah.
he's made a few, so he's trying to make it get the XLs for a Shadow Sableye. Um, but I've grinded the game, and yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting conversation for sure because I do think that is a crux of the debate, right?
Mm,
Which is I just want it to be as successful as possible. That's just me
mm,
personally, right? Because I think because I tune into a lot of other games at times, right? Especially on the esports side, and I look at it and I just a lot of times I just sit there and think, man, I wish Pokemon Go could be that, right? I wish
mm.
we had like millions of people, literally millions of people tuning into our worlds, right? I
Yeah.
wish people were excited about that. I wish people had like watch parties for this, and like even the watch party streams have like tens of thousands of people, right? A
Mm.
lot of times in these, right? I wished it was like this. I wish our production level was on that level, and sometimes it's just you just can't match that because of
Yeah.
how the game is, but a huge part of it's just the audience base is not as big.
Yeah, I think one step towards the production level increasing is getting rid of the catchers.
I knew you were gonna say that.
I hadn't said it in a while, so I thought I'd drop it.
Oh, don't worry. I
Um,
already knew where your head was at, right?
but you
I
know what?
feel
One
like this
thing.
has actually become like a wild thing. I feel like I've
Uh,
at a certain point, I'm like because maybe we just recorded so much with each other at this point. I feel like I'm so in tune with where you're headed at or where your jokes are going, whatever. Right? I was thinking back on the tier list episode with the Nava Empire thing. I knew exactly why you said Nava Empire at certain points where you
Second.
did. Right? You'll say it like seconds, right? Or
'Cause I
you'll
knew if I'd
add
have said
in,
it
or
first, you were
you'll
just gonna call me out
exactly.
again.
But I still clocked it before you even before it you even explained it. Or like when you said Ric Flair with Nava Empire, so you're just throwing it in, so you're not just focusing on it because you don't want to see it. Like I was thinking back on it. I was like, man, I think I know him just too well at this point.
Man.
Yeah. But
One thing I was gonna say, just like a good reference for the whole accessibility thing, I would say is Mankeys at the moment. Yeah. So even outside of the event time, like right now, there's no event and Mankeys is still spawning, and I feel like the level of spawn of Mankeys, yeah, I could be a new player and be like, boom, I'm gonna have an annihilate by the end of the week. Do you know what I mean?
mm,
And I feel like if most metamons were like that, then I think that cuts so much of the problem down. You know, if I could just walk outside, yeah, be like, you know what, by the end of the week, boom, whole team.
yeah.
I'll
Okay,
be
I
like
got a
that
question for
sometimes.
you.
Huh.
If there's three things you could do with anything with the game, right? You have the complete power to it, right? You could do
Mm.
whatever you want. You could generate wild Zekrom spawns if you want, right? Three things you could do to the game to make it more accessible. What would you do?
Okay,
I
I'd
I've
want to.
I have some in mind too. If you want to take a second
Okay,
to think, and I could say
right.
mine. Mine
Uh,
would be guaranteed rare XL candies, like a decent amount from
mm,
raids, right? Like how they're dropping rare candies, but you drop in
yeah.
3 or 4, right? So that
Mm,
way XL rare candies gone. Uh, more triple quadruple Stardust events, maybe weekly
mm,
even. Maybe every single community day should be at least triple Stardust. Why are we rotating between triple like catch XP, right? Just do it
yeah,
all,
it's
right?
true.
Just triple XP, triple Stardust, like it's fine. The people that have it already have it. The people that don't are the ones that need it, right? At least triple Stardust for every single community day at a minimum, right? Maybe have it for like every spotlight or something. And then uh the last thing was IV manipulators for
Mm,
I just bottle caps alone. I
yeah,
don't even think about lowering IVs as important. Bottle caps alone so that you can make it so that people can play Master League reliably without having to raid a ton. Because if you do all those things, dude, competitive Master League format is actually pretty easy to do.
yeah, yeah,
Like that's my goal, is to see it just like rotate Great League, Ultra League, Master League. Even just Great League, Ultra League would be great, but I think it'd be so cool if like year to year, like 2 years from now, we're playing Master League. Imagine
yeah,
that we don't have to talk about like, who cares about all this Gligar shenanigans when everyone's just playing Master League, right? And then that just like it just becomes a whole different ball game. And then the very
mm.
fall, like it's just so fresh. Like the whole meta is just completely different every year, and that's just so nice to see, in my opinion. But anyway,
I think mine are a bit more conservative than yours. I was gonna say I don't want to waste one of mine on like being able to swap around the moves, just
no,
like
me and
custom.
Rise talked about that
However,
last week too.
yeah,
His infamous
oh
Shadow
well,
Ball
with
to
his little
Noctowl.
shadow.
Yeah.
But I'd say one would be reworking the TM system.
Mhm.
Um, I'd say two, level scaling, because I think
What's
level
reworking
scaling.
TM system like? Just like guaranteed, like you could pick what move you're getting instead of like just
Yeah,
you
yeah,
get.
yeah. Like maybe you have to spend a TM to like unlock it, but then after that, you can just like when you TM, you can choose what move you want. You know,
I
maybe.
honestly, or like if you got the move at one point, you should be able to just go select back at the move if you already unlocked it. Like
Yeah, yeah, that'd be nice as well.
If
Yeah,
you got like Skull Bash and Hydro Cannon on the Blastoise, you
yeah,
could
you
just
should be
interchange
able to
between it
just.
without even
Yeah, yeah,
spending
yeah.
TM
It's true.
because
It's true. Yeah.
you've already taught the Blastoise. Blastoise, how
Yeah,
short term is this memory? You
yeah,
forgot the move you just learned. Like you can't just why do I have to spend a whole nother resource
yeah.
for it, man?
I guess in the old games it was like you had to teach it every time, but then in the new games now you have like a move rememberer. So
Is that how
um,
it is? I
yeah,
actually don't remember for the
yeah,
new.
yeah. In the new games now, it's like once you've taught it, you just go to this like geezer and he just teaches you it again for free.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, with what was I gonna say? So yeah, reworking TM thing. Um, then I think level scaling. So I think level scaling, but for competitive format. So again, I'm thinking things like, what could you implement that like has remnants of like some of the other games, but also doesn't necessarily undermine like, Niantic's like, I don't know, aim of the game or whatever. Yeah, and the level scaling thing means that you can literally raid a Giratina or whatever in it, yeah, and then when you're going to use it in battle, yeah, you can scale it up to level 50. Yeah, it's only valid for the battle. Yeah, so you can't use it in raids like that. You can't. I don't know, whatever people use these stuff for.
Yeah.
But just for the battle, yeah, competitive battles, you can scale it up. Yeah. I
That
feel
might
like
go a
that, and
little bit
then
against Niantic's core values because they want you going out and grinding and get the resources to
I
power it up,
know,
right?
but like if it's just for
Not
the
to say that
competitive,
my
yeah, yeah,
suggestions don't go against the values. I'm sure some of
yeah.
it do as well,
But it's
but
like it's like just because it's just for the battle, it's like, well, okay, but if you actually want a level 50 Giratina, you have to power it up. If you want a level 50 Giratina that you want to use in raids, you have to power it up. Do you know what I mean? In it, yeah. Whereas it's like if it's just for it's in battle, then it's cool. And then
yeah, but
equally,
then you
same
have
thing.
less reason to power up multiple, right? Like powering
Yeah,
up
yeah.
multiple Giratina for raids and stuff or whatever or for PP. That's good
No,
for
but you
Niantic
shouldn't really
because
have
then
a
you're
reason
playing
to
more.
power up multiple Giratina for PvP anyway, in my opinion. Do you know what I mean? Like you should only really need
But
to
no,
power
no.
up
What I'm
PvP.
saying is, if you level scale the Giratina used for PvP,
Yeah.
then you don't have to make another Giratina because you're just using the same one for PvP and raids. Whereas now you wouldn't use like a PvP
No, 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 no.
Giratina for
Because
raids.
okay, I see what you're saying. No, but then you'd have to like if you were going to use it for raids, you have to put it up to level 50 anyway. So you've kind of invested in it already. So
I see what
why
you're
not?
saying. Yeah, I mean that's fair. I don't think it's not that big of a. Would you use 1 year 3 for that? Because like, how often will people even use that? I think like the hardcore grinders are going to still use a better spread. Like the ones you use for raids
No,
are like
but
probably
that
a perfect IVs, right?
no, but
Why would
that
you use
takes
that perfect
away that
IVs?
takes away all the barrier of that takes away nearly all the barrier of um accessibility when it comes to competitive because literally you don't need to power it up for you to use it in a battle.
Mm.
You need zero
Okay, I guess
resources to use it in
I
a
get what
battle,
you're saying. I get what you're saying.
which is nice.
Yeah.
And then the third one, uh, maybe something along the lines of like special trades not being like one per day or something like that, because that's a big ball ache, man. I've been trying to
Sure
like,
is. It sure is.
bruv, it's
If you have
like,
the dust and you have the Pokemon to trade, just let them trade it.
yeah, man.
And then you
Even
already
you
had to
know
meet
what?
up in
Even if you
person.
increase it to like 5 or something, yeah, because one, it's
Yeah.
like, oh well, okay. I was trying to
5 is
get
yeah. 5 would be
XLs for my
nice.
Lando, yeah, and
Yeah.
I was like, okay, look, I don't want to spend rare XLs, yeah. Let me just do like a mirror trade with my brother,
Every
some
single day.
distance thing, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking about, it, I was like, yeah, but that's like 2 months worth of trading. It's like
Yeah.
it's not gonna happen. And then when
Yeah.
you forget, yeah. Anyway,
Oh no, I try to be on top of it, but I've been on top of it almost every day, and it's
yeah,
still a
it's
grind.
long, bro. It's
It's a long
long.
time.
Yeah,
This game's a grind. I've been playing this game
yeah,
for a long time, and it's still a grind.
yeah.
Like I've been playing this game since the launch, and it's still a grind for me, and that's where I think it's kind of a problem. I think I
Mhm.
should be at the point at that it's like I got everything I need. I can spend money on cosmetic stuff or whatever. Dude, just do skins for Pokemon, PP, right? Or just in general for race,
Mhm.
whatever. That's a huge moneymaker. If you're concerned about monetary stuff, that's a huge moneymaker and it doesn't impact the competitive integrity of the game, right?
Mhm.
Anyway,
And let's
just throwing
swap
that
around the
there.
moves. That'd be cool. Yeah,
Solve around the
that's
moves,
my
I guess.
bonus.
I was at you'll hear on the episode with Rise where we were talking
Yeah,
about it last week about how he threw the Shadow Ball, right?
yeah,
And then in the
yeah,
following game, he actually threw that game too. He had a win con. It was against a
yeah.
Galarian Stunfisk from J Mills. I don't remember. I don't know if you remember this. I remember actually
I
because I
can't
remember
remember.
watching. I was like, man, this guy's just throwing every game. In
Mm.
his second game, he had a win con too that he lost. The Galarian Stunfisk was low on health, and he just had to double sky attack it. Instead, he threw a Shadow Ball, and then he didn't have time to get to the next move.
Oh,
So
mate.
instead of doing double sky attack damage, he just throws one Shadow Ball. And he throws that game too. And he was saying last week too, if you better do your homework so you can listen to
Yeah,
it from
yeah,
his mouth.
well.
But the reason why he threw the Shadow Ball is because he was too afraid that people were going to roast him for throwing the sky attack at Flaming Summons after throwing the Shadow Ball at the knockdown. So he misplays
On
because he was worried
purpose.
about me making fun of again, but he actually should have thrown the sky attack
Oh,
at that
I'm
point
dead.
because
I'm
the
dead.
Galarian Stunfisk was not in Shadow Ball range either way, so he had to throw
Yeah.
at least 2 moves. So might as well throw the sky attack first and see if it's in Shadow Ball range or if it's just
Mhm.
in sky attack range. But It was just funny how that worked out. It was fun to hear from his perspective. 'Cause I remember when I watched it, I was like,
Yeah.
dude, what is this my man's doing? Throwing the shadow ball at the knockdown and then just came and execute the end game, right? We just throw two like I mean, that's not like the easiest end game to recognize, but from someone from his skill level, like it's definitely
It should be,
something
yeah.
he recognized. But
Mm.
I didn't realize at the moment that he was so like jarred from the previous game that he just like it caused him to misplay. But Leonardo Yoon says, I think this is the first time Leonardo commented. So hey, welcome in, first time commenter potentially, maybe long time listener. I think the other biggest point for Ghost accessibility is that you're literally limited by the current season spawns. Absolutely. I agree. And the raid rotation too. Some Pokemon are just straight up not in the spawn rotation, making them impossible to get. You touch on this, Caleb, with Deoxys, Cresselia, Registeel, but even some wild spawn Pokemon are impossible to get right now. Yeah, totally agree with you. Yeah, I think like again, I think it'd be really cool if every week on top of a spot layer, maybe on Thursdays, we had a PP hour. And it'll be seasonal spawns from GBL for that week.
Because
Who
then you could
cares, right?
dash, like, for example, Shadow Magnezone is not in rotation at the moment. You could dash it into Shadow Raids during PvP hour. Do you know what I
You
mean?
could,
That'd be
yeah.
lit.
Yeah.
You know,
It'd be
obviously
cool.
you still got to wait until you TM it, but at least you got it.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll talk more about Shadow Magnezone later. But yeah, that's absolutely right. I think that's the thing. So again, I'd be curious what everyone else's top three is. Maybe drop it in the comments below. What's your top three things you would if you had, complete god power over the game and you could do whatever? What would it be to make the game accessible? If you want to be. Some people I know don't want the game to be any more accessible, and that's fine. That's everyone has their own opinion. There's nothing wrong with that. Let's talk about some comments from the tier list. From I love how some people
That tier
commented
list is
on
so
my
funny,
tier
though.
list post and be like, "Oh, Caleb don't know what he got himself into with this tier list, right? Oh, he's going to regret it." I'm like, "Regret
Nah, he
what?
fully
We got,
knows.
we got way more views on our podcast episode than usual, and there was like the engagement on the like the X post was like 30, 50 plus K,
Yeah,
right?
it's kind of funny.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, and you got sparked all these
Uh,
conversations in random discords too, on top of this stuff. All right, so I'm sure people talking stuff in discourse I'm not even in as well. P Soat says, "This is my favorite Battle Cats cast ever." 100. Oh, nice. Thank you. It was a fun time. Evanator says, "Thanks for speaking up about Fleece King. Everyone is kind of staying quiet. I get that he's a big Pogo creator, but people need to call him out for his behavior." Yo, not gonna lie.
Wait, did
That
you do
guy
something
just
else?
no, I'm not even
Oh,
that.
okay.
He gone. Where he
Wait,
at?
swear down. What?
He hasn't posted a single thing since that incident. Last post on X was April 23rd. It's been
That's
almost
mad.
over half a month.
Yeah,
This guy
he's
was
really drafting
chronically
up his
drafting what? He hasn't liked
his
anything. He hasn't liked the post
drafting up
on
his
X
damage
since
control
April
post.
23rd. Let me check
Yeah,
out his Twitch real quick if he's even streaming. He might have not
man's
been.
really out there taking a mental health
Wow.
month.
Oh wait, no. He's been
What?
streaming.
He's been streaming.
Oh, he's been streaming. He just hasn't been on X. He's been streaming regularly.
Fair enough.
Oh.
I guess
Well.
he's got to get the money in, innit?
I guess so. Show him some
Turkey's
love
in
with some
a peak
turkey
situation
subs.
right now. Yeah.
uh
Oh, that's funny. He's muted.
Interesting. He's muted? What do you mean?
Oh, like on my.
Oh. Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I guess he's still doing it. Maybe he addressed it in one of his streams. I don't know. But yeah. I don't know why people like I think certain behavior if one's being called out should be called out, but it's what it is. I mean, I met the guy in person. He's like nice and everything, right? But I think most people are good people, right? I shouldn't say most are good people. I say most people are not bad people. They just have bad intentions, or
I'd say
what?
that make a bad person. Someone with bad intentions.
Maybe selfish intentions is a better way for it.
Fair
I
enough,
don't know.
fair
I
enough.
think a lot of people do things, and in their mind, they think they're doing the right thing,
Right.
or
There's not
what they're
necessarily
doing,
bad intention in it, but
what
just
they're
making
doing
mistakes.
isn't wrong
Right. Okay.
until they get caught. Anyway, Motique says part of the challenge in NA versus EU, I think, is just the travel. It's pretty time and money intensive to travel to a bunch of tournaments in NA versus EU. I think that helps to get more EU names recognizable. It's true.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna revisit its tier list after Worlds with you. and we're gonna see how well we did. And
Yeah.
we're going to do a little, common like
What, next
comparison
season tier
of
list?
no of like how many people attended,
Right,
right?
right, right, right.
Maybe this is something for the
Okay.
Dracovis staff to do.
Oh, what,
But
like what Butters was saying about like how many attended versus like
yes,
how
yes.
how many
Like I
placed?
want you
Well,
to look
yeah.
at the entire list of competitors and
I'll do that. I'll
see
do that. Yeah.
like how many from each region and then what the performance rate is for each
Right.
region. I'm just
Yeah. Yeah.
curious. Obviously, part of it is because the way the bracket's structured, it might not work out that way because you might have like, let's say, Latin players eliminating each other, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
they're
but you
not
can't
even
control
facing
that
other
anyway.
regions,
So
and it is
yeah,
what it is. But at a
yeah.
certain point, I also do think that if you have enough players from a region, that's not a big deal. Because maybe Latin players, if there's a lot of Latin players or a lot of NA players going to the tournament, yeah, they might be eliminating each other, but that's also because there's just way more of them than someone from Oceania, right? So like, the Oceania people avoid each other. Oh, yeah, there's like only 5 of them or something, or 6 or whatever, however many there is. So of course there's going to be less likelihood that they get paired up, but um, that would be the most unbiased way, right? Because we can all have our takes that like NA's better or EU's worse or whatever. But
Also, I'm back in the Asians, yeah, with
dude, the Asian players
16
legit.
representatives, bruv.
No, honestly, that I was telling some people too in person. I was like, look, if you queue up, if you face an Asian player, I think I was on your price about this. But man, if you're sitting across the table from someone from the APAC region that qualified, not Asian player, specifically qualified from APAC. Don't matter if you're an Asian player from NA, that's a whole different story.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
if the Asian player from the APAC region that qualified through that system, boy, it's not going to be a good time, right? Like it's going to be probably be a hard match, especially round one, right? Because their qualification requirements were way tougher than this, championship points stuff that we have. Last year, different story. Even last year, I feel like it was still easier because if you didn't,
You had more opportunities than
yeah,
one.
man, if you
Yeah.
didn't get top 2 in your regional, who cares? Just go to 5 more if you want, if you have the
Mm.
funds and time to do it, right? And maybe you qualify through that. But at the same time, too, you got a lot of reps in the process. So I'm not saying that's meaningless, but yeah, we'll see. Uh, Ricky Makes Games says, one of my locals, you think Caleb's joking about LA players never building weak to Bassi, but personally, I have like 2 to 3 teams built to try out at locals, and we'll pick one on the spot depending on whether or not Caleb's there, in case some are weak to Bassi. Caleb actually has region-wide bench pressure for real.
I love the idea that he takes 2 team sheets with him, pre-filled out, and decides which one to give in when he gets there.
Gotta come ready. A the Great says Anicor really be like, for 15 points, I'll take Nava Empire, Nava Empire, Sadistan, of course, and Nava Empire. Mans was really looking out for flaws in his own website to back Nava. That's crazy. I usually only prep one team for locals, but I feel like my teams generally are pretty decent into Bassi anyways, but I definitely know people who change teams when they find out Caleb's not coming.
Yeah, you talking about Ricky?
Ricky X Gerald's. Yeah, it's wild.
Mm.
Um, yeah, X Gerald. I feel bad too because X Gerald. I feel like he has a lot of teams he wants to run that aren't weak to Bassi. But he changes when I'm there because I remember the 2 cups I did not show up to recently. He won both, and that it's because he probably didn't bring the anti-Bassi team in those. T-Wasel also says, I see what Butter's saying about Asian/TPC region players performing very highly at Worlds, and there are some incredible battlers from those areas, but the numbers are going to be pretty stacked against them this year. With championship points, there's going to be way more players from TPCI regions at Worlds, while TPC regions aren't seeing as much of an increase in invites. Yeah, the
Mm.
numbers perspective alone is definitely rough. But
Honestly, there
hopefully this
might
is
be
like kind of
more
like a
players.
300 situation, right? You got like
Yeah.
300 strong soldiers versus like a massive, just a bunch of, I don't know. But again, there's the variance, the odds. All right, part of me thinks like anyone could beat anyone, but at the same time, I also believe that that's not the case. I actually do, I think the longer watch this game, the farther away I believe that. Like, yes, you could potentially get cheesed, but I feel like by some opponent round one. But I feel like the best players, especially even in a double elimination format, right? It's not like you make one mistake, you're out.
Mhm.
But you can have that one loss, right? But I feel like the best players in the world are good enough to still make it all the way even against a flurry of players of weird team comps. Because I'm watching it, like for example, Paulasha this past weekend. We'll talk more about that later. And actually the first match I tuned into on stream was her losing, right? Like that was the first match I tuned into. I was like, oh boy, she got this is gonna be a tough one, right? Like that's it, and nothing against the opponent that she lost to, but wasn't like the biggest name player that she lost to, right? When she loses, like man, that's the person. Like, if you lose in the winners finals, whatever, right? You've already made it pretty far. You just have to beat one more opponent, or winners say two. But seeing that, and then she just powers through. And that's like what you see like from really good players like Doombug did that too, right? And San Antonio loses round one, still powers through.
Mhm.
Or like just like really good players they'll lose and find a way to continue. And I just think that once in a while a good player might get lose to someone that's way like maybe not as good as them or doesn't have as many accomplishments as them, but I think they're just consistent enough to still not let that be the hindering factor of why they don't win a tournament. I think
Yeah,
at the end
I
of the day,
agree.
when they don't win a tournament, it'll still be because of a misplay they made rather than actually like getting cheesed. Which is why, like, I don't know. This is my take, right? I hear a lot of people, and a lot of times these are like matches off stream, so I don't know what happened. But I'll ask some people like, "Oh, how did you get eliminated?" I'm like, I just lost to some RPS strats or blah blah, blah and everything like that. I feel like a good player like yes, that might happen once in a while, but to get double eliminated through that, it seems unlikely in my opinion,
Yeah,
right?
I agree. To be honest.
Like I think like the really good players are consistent enough to beat like they're able to win the games they should win and then put up a really strong fight in the games that are close or
Mm.
against opponents that are really tough. And I think that's
See,
like,
I don't know.
and I think if, and that's just my thought, right? And again, you can feel free to disagree with me, anyone listening, but I feel like at a certain point, you're not a top tier player yet if you can't consistently just beat everyone you should be beating. I feel like if
Mhm.
you're just losing randomly, like one offs here or there to like random like small name players or first timers or whatever, or cheese comp, like I lost to some Bassy weekly tough team, like yeah, but like what about everyone else that like faced that person, right? Like it's just like, yeah,
Mm.
you got unlucky. It's possible, right? It is possible, but I think maybe you maybe didn't pick the right team comp or there were some things you could have done. But again, a lot of these times these things never happen really on streams. I never see. Like when's the last time someone got hard RPS'd by some Basset Wigglytuff team on stream? Or like a Shadowvic team? I haven't seen it.
Mm.
So I don't know. But part of me thinks that there may be something they could have done better, or yeah, or they just built like way too weak to Bassy and Wigglytuff or something. But what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. To be honest, innit?
Yeah,
Um,
because like you look at
yeah.
these good players, you don't see. How come Doombug never gets cheesed on day one? You know, how come SJ didn't get cheesed by anyone on day one, right? And he faced like a lot of tough opponents. Like how come some of these special like did they just get lucky and avoid all the Bassy Wiggly players? No, I think they faced them round one too or round two, right? Like especially with
Mm.
seeding, they're likely to face them early on. I just think that they might play better, but I don't know. I mean, if there's a way for us to see the screen footage on some of these phones when people happen, I'd be curious to see if that's what happens or not. Um, but yeah, so again, my whole point of that is I feel like if some of these APAC players are as good as they are, even against the sheer volume of players that they might face from TPCI, I think the good ones will still make it into the top like bracket, top cut, day two, day three, whatever. But that's just my thought. I don't know. TWS also says if Caleb rates himself so highly, then he should compete at Worlds and prove himself. This tier list for people that compete at Worlds after all. Fair. Fair. Who says I'm not going to Worlds to compete? We'll see.
Interesting.
Maybe bring your Bassy counters. Just be safe. Also, in some other regions, there are a lot more Bassy enjoyers too than EU. I know Australia, man, it's like Bastion paradise, right? I feel like my Bastion just straight up been adopted from Australia, right? His whole family's back out in Australia. They be running that thing like every other opponent there. Yeah. Um, T-Rex also says, I kind of hope that Anicor doesn't qualify for Worlds so that he can spectate and carry around the
Doesn't.
sign that says Nava Empire's #1 fan. Look, the other thing is Anicor can still qualify for Worlds and get knocked out in 2 rounds, and they carry around that sign. He'll carry around the sign as a competitor between his rounds. Like, oh my, my round doesn't start until 2 p.m. I'm holding up this sign. I'm being stands rooting for my #1 guy right there. I love Nava Empire being a good sport about it too. On X was interacting with the tweets too. Yeah. So, but no, honestly, in jokes aside, I really am looking forward to Nava Empire and a lot of these APAC players play because they just don't get the spotlight because there just isn't opportunities, right? A lot their tournaments aren't really streamed for the most part. Outside of PJCS, and even if they are, that's just one stream per year, and then it's just that stream and then Worlds, and that's it. That's all they got. Right. And so unless they go to like international outside the region, which most don't. So I love seeing them at these tournaments because you just learn so much more, right? And some of these names just become like household names after a Worlds tournament. As far as NIC goes, we don't actually know how many are registered because registration was through Rain Focus and not everyone did the Arcanine step afterward. All we know is that there are 240 people registered on Arcanine, which means the actual number registered is going to be higher. NIC could be capped or almost capped right now, and we wouldn't know. I think that's probably true, but at the same time, I also feel like it won't hit the cap like EU did. I hope I'm wrong. I really do. But I don't know. It's just part of it is like maybe the excitement, the accessibility, travel and stuff in North America is not as high as EU. Also, just get the last tournament of the season, it's just less incentive to go, right? There's not as many EU players going to NA as NA players going to EU for sure. For sure. Like we know some like I know you all know some big names that went to EUIC, but I was looking and I was like finding out, I was like, wait, there were a lot of NA players that like weren't very big names that went to EUIC too. You all just don't know, right? Or a lot of people don't know. But yeah, I just don't think you have the same thing. And I get it. Expensive to travel and also it's like right before Worlds. Why spend the money going to NAIC when you just save it for Hawaii?
Yeah, true.
They also highly recommend Tomahawk CA go to Big Sur on his road trip in California if you can. It's one of my favorite places in California. Truly beautiful. Well, Tomahawk, if you're listening, that's a recommendation from T. Wastel, which I heard is good too. I haven't been myself. And we just have a few comments from the episode with Rise Vacation. Obviously, Anicor hasn't listened to it, but all good. We talked a little bit about Doombug. And Ahmad Davies says, I was not a fan of Doombug of Doombug after the bird power dispute. I did think his apology later was sincere. However, the thing that swung me solidly into the Doombug camp was his recent series versus Emiwedo. Emiwedo won the lead hard but lagged. It was fully within Dune's right to have a fresh rematch, but he offered to restart the battle with the same teams because he felt Emiwedo shouldn't be punished for the lag after such a solid line call. Big respect to Doombug. And then it later says, "Oh, I see you went to address USC." Yeah, so we discussed that part about Doombug's kind of journey as well, and also we highlighted his USC thing too. So yeah, so we're on the same page, Mod Davis. Yeah, I agree. I think that was a really good show of sportsmanship and kind of an indication of Doombug's growth as well throughout the years. RC Cola says, Chris was a great guest, so knowledgeable about the game, and someone I've kept up with for a long time, going back to the old Sylph days. It's been cool to hang out in Vancouver and Brussels, to name a few. Very down to earth and has a solid post game on the basketball court. Very respectful casting debut. It's like he's done this before. And Caleb, I love you and Anicor's dynamic, but I think more guests will be a good thing for the pod in general. Oh boy. I did joke last week too. I was like, "Look, this is my new co-host." And yeah. Anyway, that does it for our YouTube comments. Before we move too far forward, too, what did you think of Rise Vacation's casting at Indianapolis?
I don't know because
you didn't watch it.
Because
yeah, one of the best players in the world, SJ, just take the whole thing.
I know.
You so better be watching. All those EU players better be watching out, man. Captain of Elite TMs, he good for a reason.
So obviously that weekend was like the entire wedding weekend, so I didn't get an opportunity to watch. But I literally only when I went back to watch, I literally watched just SJ's games. Because I don't know if I've mentioned before, but like I'm a big SJ fan from when I saw him at Peoria, innit? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And like just in terms of like his the way he plays the game, his play style. It's like
He made
very
like almost no
fluid. He's
mistakes too.
constantly,
It's crazy.
yeah, exactly. Like mechanically, he's very good as well. But also, it just feels like I don't know, he thinks a bit differently to a lot of players where things are a lot more like fluid and flexible with him in it. So as opposed to thinking one matchup at a time, he's literally thinking the entire thing. So it's
Yeah.
very like teamwork oriented, very much like switching, getting advantage through switching and banking energy and stuff like that, and I love it. So when I found out that he'd won, I was like, oh shit, I need to watch the whole thing,
Mhm.
as in like all his matches in it. So
Yeah.
I watched all his matches in game 2, but um I didn't have the sound on, not because I didn't like the casters, yeah, but more because I
I
was
was
in
like, how
like
do
a
you not
place
hear his
where
casting if you watch all his games? I was like, I casted a few of his games, but
yeah,
that
yeah,
makes
I didn't have
sense.
the sound. Yeah, yeah. It was just I wasn't in a place where like I could put the sound just on in it, so I was like watching it sort of like on the side.
I see how it is. I see how it is.
Yeah, yeah. You know what I've realized so far is
Yeah.
uh with the increased amount of like I don't know, I'm finding it more and more difficult to like watch regionals in the same way that I used to. And I don't know if it's because like I have to do, the graphics and stuff, or like I may have something on the weekend, or maybe there's a local going on or something like that.
I thought when you
Um
go back to UK, you're gonna have all this free time and you're doing all this
oh
stuff.
yeah,
What
so did I
happened?
in it, but like it's
You
actually
always
very
say this.
difficult, man.
What
Yeah,
happened?
yeah, I know, I know. It's
What
actually
hap-
very difficult. So I just don't feel like I have the time to like watch in the same capacity. So it's like with the Indianapolis one, I watched all SJ's matches, and then I watched like nearly all of the day 2 matches.
Okay.
But then it came to this weekend, and I was watching all of Stockholm. So
Yeah.
and then I watched all of Mexico City as well. So it's a lot. It's a lot going on. Do you know what I mean?
It's a lot of content. I'll be honest, I haven't seen all the stuff
It's very
either.
difficult.
You
Yeah.
know, it's just
So
it's a lot of
yeah,
tournaments,
I did not.
a lot of content.
But actually, tell a lie though, I did have the sound on some parts, and I did think Rise was very good. And I think also
Did he
obviously his
sound like
commentary
Butters?
there. Ah,
He sounded a lot like
I get
Butters when
why
I was
you'd say
casting with
that.
him.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what? I think I don't know if it's maybe because they're both like very sports influenced
Yeah, that's
in
why.
their
I
commentary.
think that's why.
Yeah.
Their voice is also
Because
similar, like their tone of
yeah,
voice.
yeah, that's true. But yeah, I thought it was like, obviously different to how he does his YouTube videos. Yeah. But then again, I think the reason for that is because, again, it's like he's in sort of like sports commentator rise mode,
Yeah. He's also by
Um,
himself in YouTube videos, right? Like I don't talk like how I do in YouTube videos as when I'm
yeah,
commentating
true, true.
battles.
I feel
So,
like Home Slice Henry does, though. I feel like it's a bit of
oh
an
yeah, maybe.
exception to that, maybe. But anyway, yeah.
Okay. Well, speaking of championship series, we had a lot of events to cover.
Rev.
So let's
Oh,
start.
my
How
days.
do you want to start this?
All right, well, okay, first one was Indianapolis, and I guess you can discuss that more than
Well, no,
me,
we
but
already covered it with Rise. So
yeah. Okay.
yeah,
Cool. 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 So basically, that weekend, there was also a couple other events.
yeah. Let's talk
The
about the
first
finals.
one.
Let's not. We can skim over the qualifiers because we'll talk about the playoffs later, right? So let's talk
Okay.
about any playoffs that wrapped up, so that way we have that.
Okay. Well, I mean, that was the bulk of the events
Okay, it was playoffs.
last
Okay.
weekend as well, innit? So first of all, there was the Buenos Aires special event. So basically, this is the first LATAM special event, and it turns out that these special events are. Oh, and I also forgot to update
No
the
guaranteed
link.
invite for number one.
No guaranteed invite. So all you're getting from these special events are the championship points. So
It's still a lot.
the
Yeah.
thing is, it's still worth it. And again, it's still a nice boost to the LATAM players, especially because really and truly, like the bar's a bit lower. If you're winning a special event,
Hmm.
you're basically qualified. Do you know what I mean? And it like locals have been out around and enough where it's like, you know what, you probably accrued like a decent amount of points from other stuff that you
Yeah.
can get like another 100. And so yeah, Buenos Aires special event, and a few players from, obviously a lot of Argentinian players went, but also a lot of Chilean players as well.
Hmm.
And the winner of it all, Desynced,
Hmm.
who Chilean player, 200 points. I mean,
What
I
was
don't know
up
what
with the
the.
bracket specifically?
Oh,
Like,
right.
why did
So
it look like that? Yeah, on the
right. So this
graphic.
is also the other thing as well. They are organized in the same way as a local would be organized. So using
Oh, so like
TOM is Swiss
Swiss.
first, and then you do a top cut.
I see. So that's why it looks like
So
it's not like a double elim. It's just single elim
yeah,
going towards the
yeah,
thing. Okay,
single
that makes sense. That
elem.
makes sense.
Yeah, so we had so you'd have the top cut, and in this situation it was a top 8, and then it would go to a single elimination. And I guess the single elimination is relevant because obviously it is the difference between, like you get one win and you go to one win and you go from 100 to 130 points, and then
Mm-hmm.
up from there in it.
Shadow Quagsire is wild.
Yeah.
I
Hey, I
thought
told
about
you.
it. It's just not
Yeah.
as I don't think it's as good in neutral matchups like against Skarmory or like
I would say,
Cresselia or
honestly, I would
Lickitung.
say it's almost the opposite. Okay,
It's not
Cresselia is
as
a
good
bit
in
of
the
a
head-to-head
difficult one.
matchup as well with Mud Boys. It's worse in the Lantern.
I
What is
I
it
would
better
say
into? Like Altaria?
the thing is, I would say it's actually. I'd say it's kind of. I don't want to say. I kind of want to say it's better in neutral matchups, and the reason being is because first of all, you've got the pacing of Aquatail, yeah, where
Yeah.
like let's say for example against Annihilate, 2 Aquatails is basically going to KO, right? And
No,
so
no, it
when you're
doesn't though. It doesn't.
no, but like basically, do you know what I mean? And it's
I
like
guess so. Okay.
you're like 2 Aquatailing it
Yeah.
pretty much, right? And maybe I think it's the head-to-head matchups where you can't really measure it because maybe in a head-to-head scenario you probably won't win, or you're gonna have to like invest some resources. So it's like a very sort of narrow situation.
Versus
But I think
Whiscash.
versus Whiscash, you've got a better matchup because you
Well, what do
pace
you mean head
quicker.
to
But
head? That's
against
what you
like
mean head to head versus
head to head,
Whiscash
sort
as
of
well.
like a neutral. No, as in head to head, like when you're neutrally going up against most Pokemon in it.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, okay,
like in
okay.
a
I was
But
like,
I
that's
think
not what head to head means, but yeah.
is it not? Oh, okay. Well,
Well,
but I feel like I feel like the benefit of Shadow Whiscash is it can, the fast pacing means it
Shadow
can
Whiscash or
benefit a
Shadow
bit more.
Quagsire?
Sorry, Shadow Quagsire.
Oh, okay.
It means it can benefit a bit more from like a bit of an energy advantage or a shield advantage or something along those lines.
Is it like
And
so? Like Gligar could tank a move, right? So you still have to do two
you still have to do two
Aqua Tail.
what's it called, Aquatails, but you're outpacing Gligar way faster.
But
So
it's but the problem is you don't like outpacing is not like as big. Like if you can't much shot it down, who cares about the first Aqua Tail? You essentially have to throw 8 turns
okay,
to take it out,
so
right?
you let the first Aquatail go, yeah, but you're
Yeah.
also not dying to one move from the Gligar, right?
But
So
neither
then
is
now you're
Whiscash, so that's the same. That's the same. It goes
but
down the same way
Whiscash is also not one-shotting the Gligar, but you're like pacing
with
to it a bit.
Scald.
So
Yeah,
if you're
but
shielding a
but
Scald, it's more
yeah.
impactful as opposed to you're shielding an Aquatail. Well, I had to throw an Aquatail anyway. Do you know what I mean? If you're shielding a Scald, it's like I have to go all the way
I
back
mean,
up
I
to a
get it.
Scald
The
to get through.
Whiscash versus Gligar matchup's not clean either, but I don't think it's. Is it that much better with Quagsire? I don't
I'm
know.
not saying it's like a I'm saying it's a vibe. It's like a Pokemon to consider, and in
Mhm.
that sort of situation where it's like it kind of it either sets up other Pokemon or you can set it up and it has pretty like good matchups across the board. Do you know what I mean?
It's definitely safer for
If you give it,
sure. I'll give
yeah.
him that. Don't you just like lose
Um,
harder to Charge Bug though, because you're pacing slower?
uh, nah, because I think you can
Charge
just
Bug
like Stone Edge
forces.
it.
Yeah, but Charge Bug forces shield from. You had the shield if you counter swap it.
Yeah, but I mean, you're not gonna like be better at everything,
Not
right?
gonna lie, I was like
Um,
looking at my team for outlet to see like if it's weak to Quagsire or
yeah, yeah,
not.
yeah.
I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, you're not gonna, think anything. You know what that said though?
Yeah.
No, no, no. I
Well,
was
what
gonna
you gonna
say like,
say?
yo,
What were you gonna
this
say?
is looking like my EYC team. Yes. Anyway,
No, you make these
um,
things way more creative than that.
it actually
Quagsire
does
and
look like
Guzzlord
my
alone
UIC
already
team.
is quite different.
That's my UIC team. Anyway, um,
This Osen Tenyutno, this
was it?
person's been around for a long time.
Yeah, Stan was saying this as well.
Old
Apparently, they
school
were
Silpher.
from Sylph. Yeah, yeah,
Old school. I feel like I haven't
yeah.
seen their name in a while, and it's really great to see
Mm.
them compete.
Yeah, I don't personally recognize it, but I guess it was before my time as
This
well.
was like
Um,
2019.
19.
Yeah, days. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So,
Okay.
um, But yeah,
Good.
so that was the first of the LATAM special events. We then had, oh my days, I did a madness. We had Korea qualifiers, but we'll gloss over that.
Yeah.
However, we had the Indonesian playoffs, and top two go through. So we had Tom Seen, who was last year's Indonesian champion, drop out in like the seventh spot. Garando King, yeah, resident Chansey user. Unfortunately, did not use Chansey in this tournament, and as a result, he only got fourth place. I'm
Ah,
sure if he used Chansey and Rayquaza,
I was
he
rooting
would
for
have gone
him.
all the way. But the two qualifiers, so Yerina, a name I personally don't recognize, but they did super well. Really decent losers bracket run. Beating a name, so Yuki XCYZ. So I know they're like
Mhm.
a very good player as well. So beating them as well. But every Europe's, well, I guess most people's favorite Indonesian.
What Europe's what?
Panic, Fine
What
Panic.
were you saying?
So
Europe?
Panic a lot. I was going to say Europe's favorite, but I guess it's everyone's really.
Oh, yeah.
Came first, and this will be his second time qualifying for Worlds. However, first time round he couldn't get a visa.
Yeah.
Let's pray for a visa this time. I think this is another issue with all these Asian qualifiers is that like they're so late on in the season.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay, like funds and stuff is a thing where you're like booking flights and they're going to be more expensive. But I think people look over the fact that you've got to apply for a visa as well, and
Yeah.
sometimes a visa is not going to come that quickly,
Takes a
especially to
while
the US.
too. Yeah.
So
That's why like all these
I
APAC tournaments happen in the springtime. I'm like
they
always
all happen that
nervous.
late on,
Yeah.
So I don't
Flights
know,
get
man,
more
if we
expensive.
have any sort of possibility of giving feedback and changing that sort of stuff. We are in talks with some people.
Okay.
Hopefully they can do something like first of all, multiple opportunities, so like have one at the beginning of the season and then one at this springtime sort of thing would be nice.
Yep.
But yeah,
Shout out to
doing
my
it this late
patron
on,
Andrew,
long.
who got tied for 5th through 8.
Mad, very
Yeah.
close. I
Short
recognize that
period.
name as well from last year.
Yeah.
Because they made it to playoffs last year, I believe, as well.
Mhm.
So that was last weekend.
Mhm.
The weekend I was not about. And then we had this weekend. So let me cover the ones that weren't on stream first, and then we can
Okay.
talk about the stuff that was on stream. So first of all, we had Taiwan qualifier.
Well, let's skip the
Loads
qualifiers.
of
Yeah.
but one thing to note, unfortunately, the winner from Taiwan last year, Yodada,
Yeah.
did not manage to make it
I
into the
saw that
qualifiers.
too.
So
He's really good too.
unfortunate.
He's always on top of
Yeah,
the GBL leaderboard.
yeah. However,
How did
what
he
did make it into the
finish?
qualifiers,
Because he
he
wasn't even on the
finished like
graphic.
22, so he was
Ah.
one match off from being on tiebreaker.
Who
So
who who took him out?
probably like 2 or 3 players, I guess. I'd have to bring up the bracket.
Oh
So
wow, that's actually a decent amount.
so yeah, unfortunately, I think if he won one more match, then he would be in tiebreaker, and then
Yeah.
obviously it just depends on like all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But what did make it to playoffs was Deoxys attack form on on Willie
Anyway, let's
333's
talk about
team.
who actually performs the playoffs later next week, right? Whenever they have it. Yeah. But what's the other
Uh,
event that happened?
so
Yeah.
okay, so this was the APAC playoffs. As opposed to last year, APAC had 4 spots last year. This year they were taken 2 spots. So 2 spots were taken away,
Ooh,
which is unfortunate. So
that's very
only
unfortunate.
2 spots this year. And early on in the bracket, Yekai dropped down to the losers bracket, and Shin Lena was absolutely murking the winners bracket, right? And I chat to him right before his grand finals. I was like, because I think he made it to the grand finals. And I was like, bruv, what a sick run, yeah. He was like, yeah, man, I was just lucky I didn't have to play Yekai, yeah. And then, like, I see Yekai get into the losers finals, yeah. I'm like, yo, you're kind of
That's how I felt
biting
about
yourself in the
Elite
ass
at
for this one.
Fresno. Like the one
Yeah,
person you're worried about
yeah,
creeping their way up towards you. But
literally, he
again,
was
that's just
because.
like if you're a really good player, like yeah, you might get like cheesed or beaten by someone that maybe
Mhm,
not as good as you in an earlier day, and then you find a way to power through and still
yeah.
make it. And
I mean,
Yekai did
Yekai.
it.
So You know what? Even at one point, I think it was in his game against XL Voz. Apparently, Yekai had the wrong team sheet up, and he still beat XL Voz. Yeah, he had the team sheet from the qualifiers up.
Dang.
So this
That's
guy is
wild.
absolutely smacking everyone. Losers finals against Annie C84, who did he qualified last year as
Do you
one
get
of the
footage?
four, but
Do you still have footage and stuff, or it's hard to acquire this year?
yeah, I'm getting it. But I'm
Okay.
like compiling it, and then we're gonna do something next month because like this month's too busy.
Yeah,
Um,
but I would recommend if you can do it before then because next month is going to be a different meta.
it's true, but at the same time, it's like we're just watching it anyway. So do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, but
people
some
know the
people might
teams
tune in
that
because
were run.
they're trying to use some teams for like tournaments they're doing this month, right?
Yeah, but it's like it's
I
too
don't know.
busy this month.
I don't know what your time schedule is. That's just my
It's too busy
recommendation, but
this
it
month.
is what it is. Yeah.
And it's like it's going to be before Worlds anyway, isn't it? So like I think the main thing is actually just like watching
Some
battles
people
and
might.
actually seeing
Yeah,
them.
I get you.
But then Yekai and Shinlena in the grand finals. Shinlena goes 1-0 up, and then gets murked in the following 4 games,
Mm.
and loses the bracket reset. So Yekai champion this time round, and honestly, I can't say I doubted him, man.
That Umbreon
This
looks
guy is
so safe.
this
No
guy
counter
is
user, no fairy on Shinlena's team. What stopped
yeah,
the Umbreon? How did
yeah.
you beat that? Maybe that's why.
Um,
Well, I guess you have a charge bug, but that's it.
yeah. I mean, you've got a lot of like neutral play against the Umbreon, but
But you got
yeah,
charge bug
I'm just
into a
playing the Umbreon
Skelders
replay.
Gligar
Yeah,
team is kind of rough.
yeah, yeah. Yekai, man, sick guy. Also, Shinlena, sick player as well. Performing with Gudra. We all know that you're.
I'm a
It's
Gudra hater. Yeah, I'm a Gudra
hater.
hater because
Yeah,
it's not
yeah,
good.
yeah.
Maybe Shinlane would have won it
Pretty
if they
much.
had something besides Gudra. Maybe like Altaria, maybe. You
Who
know, that
knows?
would
Who
have
knows?
beaten the Umbreon for sure.
Yeah.
Did Altaria
um,
into that team? What does Altaria lose to?
into which team? The Yakai's
Yekai's
team.
team.
Yeah, it's fully safe. Yeah, you can bring it all day, every day.
Bring for Worlds,
Um,
Shinlena. Bring for Worlds.
yeah.
Don't bring the Gudra to Worlds. That's my
Um,
recommendation. Look, I'm
so
looking out for
next
people. I'm
up,
not trying to roast them. I'm just looking out for people.
yeah. Next up, it was so there was 2 LATAM special events, so 2 more.
Mhm.
First one was Bogota, and in this one there were less players than the Argentinian one. The Argentinian one was capped out at 64 players. This one only had 18 players. And I posted it on Twitter today. But Jacko Loco actually made the trip down from Canada.
Wild.
I know his family's Colombian. I think we discussed
Yeah.
this before as well, innit? And won the whole thing. So, sick
Second
record, 5
qualifier
0.
from Canada.
Yeah, second qualifier from Canada. So, that's something I guess we can maybe discuss maybe today or maybe next
Yeah,
week, depending on how
we'll
much
talk
time
about
we
it
have.
later today. Yeah. That'll be a tea topic.
Yeah, second qualifier from Canada after Lao Jeffs, and went completely unbeaten, 5-0 in Swiss, and then unbeaten in the top cut as well. So really great there. And you know what? Nice amount of points for some of these Colombian players because obviously no events in the actual country, so
Yeah.
they only have locals to rely on. Then we had the last LATAM regional, the last LATAM
Special event.
special event of the weekend, and I haven't made the thingy for it yet, just because I was planning to publish it tomorrow anyway, so I was a bit lazy. But it was the Puerto Rico, so the Carolina special event in Puerto Rico, and guess who won that one?
I have no idea
Another
'cause no
Canadian.
graphic. Oh wait, who won it?
Yeah, true. So the Torian actually went down for this one.
Yeah. The Torian was telling me that he was going to go back in like
Yeah.
Orlando and
So
Indy.
actually,
Oh, that
this
man's been traveling.
this tournament actually only had 5 players.
What?
So
Oh, that's a little
everyone
slow.
got points. Yeah,
Yeah.
everyone got points. I mean, the thing is, I think with this, right,
Travel
and
down for that one too at that point.
honestly, yeah, the thing is obviously nobody knew how these were working, and I think
You don't get money for special events though, right?
no, you
Okay.
don't. So yeah, a lot of people wouldn't have known how these were working, and then I don't know what travel is like into Puerto Rico from like the US, but I think a lot of people glossed over it because they assumed like, well, it's just another LATAM country going to get filled by the local players, not worth going, right? The Torian and TT Ghostmaker had different ideas, and they had the right ideas because they got first and second,
Oh
and
man,
that's just 3 points.
I
That is
wouldn't say it's
3
free.
points,
That
bro.
if they saw to fight their way, right? Who are the other three players?
Yeah. They had 3
I don't know
rounds of
what
Swiss,
I
and
don't
that
know
was
what
it.
teams they ran. So
So in the Torian was running, so Lantern, Annihilate, Cresselia.
no. I
Oh,
get
what?
that they're
Oh,
running
what
legit
teams
teams.
they
What were the
played
other
against?
three running? Were they running like some
Oh,
like
okay. Let's see. So
not so meta teams or
this is your Bastiodon team.
they ran my
Um,
Bastion team? Really?
yeah, the one with like the Mandibars and the Whiskash and
Oh,
all that.
okay. I got a
Shadow
fan.
Whiskash. So that was one of them.
Hmm.
Then we had another team which was a bit more spicy. It had like Carbink, Azu, G-Fist, Talonflame,
Okay.
Skarmory, and Chargebug. And then the other one was another Carbink team, but probably more spicy because it had Zweilous, Charizard with Fire Spin. So I'd say that one was less of a serious
Yeah.
team.
Wait, so did someone have a
Uh,
buy too with only 5 players? They had a buy and then what was top cut? Just like two,
uh,
like one best, like just top two
there
was
was no
top
top
cut.
cut.
Oh, it was just
It was
Swiss.
just the Swiss. Yeah.
The Torian
Because
had
I
a
think
good
there's not enough
vacation then.
players for. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there was not enough players for top cut. So
Oh wow.
let me just double check this. Yeah, it was just 3 rounds of Swiss, and that was it.
Dude, after this, if anyone's listening to this podcast, you know next year.
Hey,
Yeah, Puerto Rico
book your
special event.
tickets, bruv.
You know, people like Arrow and stuff, Doombud, they're gonna be
Bruv, they're
hunting
gonna
for those
be
championship
running.
points.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
because also, you know what? Actually, that's a very valid point because this is a anyone in the travel award race.
Yeah.
There's a great boost to your thing.
100%.
And
100%.
also Puerto Rico, honestly, probably a great holiday destination. I would have done that. You
Yeah.
Google Puerto Rico, looked buff. So
All right, let
that's
me
the
let me
place.
I'm
That's the
just
place.
curious actually. If I were to go to
Oh,
Puerto Rico for this weekend, how expensive is it too? Because it's like part of the US
so if you were on a
territories, but it's
last
not.
minute, yeah, if you were going to
Yeah, it's
last
not.
minute book it,
It's actually not cheap.
how much is it?
It's like 1,000 plus. It's
Oh,
actually more.
really?
Well, I'm in LA, but it's more expensive than for
What
me
is
to go to
LA far? I
Hawaii.
don't even know where Puerto Rico is, to be honest.
It's on the eastern side of the country. Yeah.
What if you change your location to like New York? I don't know, how much does it cost?
Let me check. New York. I'm just looking at like. Let's see
Yeah,
for
just
this
have a
upcoming
look.
weekend, right? So it's kind of last minute
Yeah.
either way.
Yeah.
From New York to San Juan, it could be like with the layovers, like 400 something, 500 something.
It's
That's
still a
a
bit expensive.
decent.
So
Yes,
you need a bit more thought. You'd need some like
Yeah,
pre-thought, really.
yeah,
But I imagine if you book in advance, it might be decent.
maybe.
Yeah. So that's the LATAM special events.
Okay.
And then the two events that we actually had streams of, it was the Stockholm Regional Championships and the Mexico City qualifier.
What you want to cover first?
Would you want to cover first?
Let's go with Mexico
Have you
first.
seen either? Okay.
Yeah.
Did you watch a Mexico City qualifier?
No, I didn't. I saw some clips and stuff.
No?
I saw the results too.
Okay, so 150 people, 152 people, something like that. Speediest Chief, number 2. Yeah,
No
was
bronze on. No
was
bronze on this time.
no bronze on this
But
time.
he was cooking. He came pretty
went in.
close. Yeah.
Honestly, he losers finals, and I think he lost 2-1 in the losers finals. So
Oh, I saw a screenshot too. There was like a 1 HP annihilate on the other side when he lost.
man. So
Wait, there was only
super
150
close.
something. I thought there was. Did they cap? Did they have a cap?
They
or
didn't
no?
cap, and I think
Really, that's
the
weird
reason
because they
for
had
not capping it,
256 last year.
yeah, but the thing is, I think last year
It's before
it's a
championship
different
points.
system. Do you know what I mean? Innit? Yeah. Like now that we're in championship points, I think
a
it's
lot of
like
people qualify.
people are getting points from locals. There's also a special event later on in the month as well. So in the same month, you have 2 events in Mexico City. I can see it, splitting up the thing, or maybe, I think also last year it was. Last year it ran out pretty quickly, to be honest. Yeah, I'd say it's probably the championship point thing that's like made it a bit more comfortable. A lot of actually, that's another thing as well, right? Is that a lot of players last year, from the LATAM region would have been like, okay, cool, another event I can actually go to. let me try here, right? Whereas this year, it's like a lot of players who've already qualified. They're like, okay, well, no more traveling for me until Worlds. So I think
Yeah.
that also kind of lowers the amount of players trying to do it as well.
Is there money
Uh,
for this one or no?
I assume so. This is a Niantic sponsored one, but I don't know. I
Mm.
don't know. Just because it's like we're. I'm assuming it comes under the regional bracket,
Yeah.
but they. Do you know what I mean? In it, like they call it their own thing. It's the whole Niantic thing. So I got no clue. However, uh, a few like recognizable names in the top cart. Eduardo Lomas, who was the second place, I believe, last year.
Mhm.
Um, Rocha Babyface, Iomero, Teddy GM10. So a lot of these players, have been seen on the NA circuit as well.
Mhm.
However, came down to Javier and Marto Alde. Yeah, so two players that we're really familiar with. So Javier actually knocked Marto down into the losers bracket during top eight. 2-0 was pretty clean, I can't lie. I feel like at one point I was like, oh, it feels like Marto's making a lot of mistakes in that matchup. And I feel like maybe to a degree he was, but then uh, I don't know, man. I think Javier was just playing super clean because you know what the thing is. I think Marto did have a lot of space to really abuse his Charizard,
Yeah.
um, but your opponent also has to allow you to have that space, and Javier was not allowing him to have that space. So,
Yeah.
um, Marto made it back up all the way to the grand finals, but and it was close. It went down to a 2-2. I think Javier was 2-0 up in the beginning, so it went down to a 2-2, but um, yeah, at the end it was just unfortunately not something that Marto could overtake. And Javier, who before coming into this match, coming into this tournament, was number 8, I believe, on the LATAM championship point leaderboard.
Uh-huh.
So he was right at the bottom of the travel award bit. I imagine he's probably pretty high up, and especially since this is one of the last-ish tournaments, and he's
There's still another
Peruvian.
Mexico one, right?
There's another Mexican one, but I reckon at this point he'll probably just go to like the Peruvian special event.
Mhm.
And from what I hear of the Peruvian scenes, um, the two best Peruvian players in locals, at least, have been Javier and one of my teammates, Chocho. So I think Javier is probably pretty like feeling pretty confident going into that special event.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, if he does need some points, he'll probably get them. And he's probably safely in LATAM Travel Award range now, I'd say. Um,
Okay.
so yeah, that was a great tournament. Also, little thing as well is that actually, this is the first time for Javier to qualify for Worlds,
Mhm.
and he missed out narrowly in the first year at the Mexico qualifier, coming third, and obviously it was the top two that we're going to go
Mhm.
through. So, um, yeah, man, finally did it now. Yeah.
The teams were pretty wild, but well done. And good to see Marto put in work too on the OGs as
Yeah.
well. I know
Do you know
some we've
what? I think
discussed
also
on
when
the
we were
tier list.
discussing the whole tier list, and I think we did kind of skimp out on LATAM, yeah. And I think we all acknowledged that at the time, right? But it was more like, okay, but who do we put in that last spot if it's not another Brazilian? Admittedly, I had overlooked someone like Emilio because actually Emilio's performance, when you look at it, was actually super consistent.
Yeah,
Um,
but
but I
no
was like,
championship, right?
personally, I was not convinced on Marto, right?
I
However,
agree. Yeah.
I'm now convinced because
You would
this
slot him
tournament,
in. Who would you take out of the tier list and put him in for? Because
no
at this
shit,
point too, I
Adric,
feel like
yeah.
SJ is going to make a spot before that,
Oh
though,
yeah,
right?
yeah, man, yeah.
So,
SJ would really,
but
yeah.
who would you pull out? Who are you gonna
We'd
pull
have to
out?
revisit it in a but for me at the time, yeah, the sort of thingy, I think it was Avrip, right? And like, I'm not saying Avrip's not a good player, yeah,
He was
but
upset he was in the $1
I know,
tier.
I know, I
I
know.
was like,
I found that funny, man.
and of course, like, oh, you upset about that? We won't bump you down to $0.
Yeah, one
You could
Australian
be in that
dollar.
free space.
Yeah. Do you know what it was for me though? It was like with Avrip, I was convinced at the beginning of the season, but I personally wanted to see a better performance from him in the regionals this year. And not saying it was a bad performance, he constantly topped, but I would want to see him like in that top 4 range. Do you know what I mean? And getting to at least one final is what I'd expect from him, you know? And I think Vish has the reason Vish is a bit higher up is because even though he hasn't done that this season, he's got more of a history. So he's favored a bit more on the history side of things.
Look, just say it, right? Vicious 4-0'd you in the past in these tournaments,
Yeah,
right?
that's also true as well. Yeah, that's also true as well.
It's scarred your brain very vividly. So there's no way you can rank Avrip
Yeah,
higher.
that's valid. But yeah, so basically, I'd wanted to see more from Avrip personally. And you know what? Like, you know, Avrip's performed well at Worlds, and you know, this is just our tier list in it. But I would personally take Avrip out. I'd put another Latin player in. Would I do Marto over Emilio? Or would I even do Javier? I don't know, but I think all 3 of them are valid.
I'd probably take BJ out too. No hate on BJ. Like, I like BJ a lot, but he hasn't really proven anything outside of his home country.
His GBL stuff, yeah, that's true.
GBL stuff, though, a lot of people have hit GBL stuff, right? Like, I don't count GBL
Yeah,
stuff.
but he's
Some people
super consistent in GBL. But yeah, it's true.
I mean, it's just GBL. Like, some people don't take it seriously.
Yeah,
I'm like decent at GBL too, and I ain't gonna like be saying that as part of my accolades.
yeah. I guess he doesn't have enough international stuff on the cards.
I mean, he's played in 2 North American tournaments, right?
That's what I mean. There's not enough. Right?
Yeah, that's.
But true. And yeah, maybe we could dash another Latin player in there.
Okay.
Well, next up,
Stockholm.
Oh my days! Stockholm Regional Championship. So, did you watch this one?
I watched parts. Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't watch the whole thing, but I watched parts.
As always, with a lot of the European events, they stacked, of course.
Look,
you know what?
say
You know what was mad
whatever.
though? I'll say one thing, right? So with
say
this
your
event,
thing.
it was super interesting because
Say
the
your
seeding
team.
was done really well to the point where it would mean that after the first round, or like not the first round, but like when you get to like winners round 3, yeah, are all matches where you're like, raw, this could be a top cut match or this could be a final match, right? Or at least that was where you would expect it to go. Most groups did do that. So for example, like, you know, like Group A, for example, you had like, you know, Tonton, Zephyr you had Stone Collection versus PBP David, Pataman versus Galaxico Bolton. Do you know what I mean? These are all like final matchups, right? And then you have Group B, you had Paula versus Andiouf, San Hudigo versus Danev, Scafo versus Kazim, and Klibby and Damon Cash. So it's like a lot of, you know, the seeding was done really well in that sort of thing. What was interesting though is that I can't remember which group it was, but I think it might have been Group C. Maybe it wasn't Group C. Maybe it was Group D. One of the groups didn't quite like go how I expected it to go. You know, I was expecting
Which group?
I can't remember which one it was. You know, but basically there was a few players who, in looking at their runs, yeah, personally, I would have been like, nah, you're losing at this point, right?
Yeah.
Because they're going up against a name where I'm like, well, I'm favoring that person against them. And a lot of people made it through, made it past those players. So first of all, shout out to regular listener Bish Lasagna.
Oh,
now known
for
as
real. Yeah,
Biz Lasagna. Yeah,
that was crazy. I'm surprised they let him go with that name too,
bro. That was the dumbest thing. Yeah, because you know what? Yeah, I put obviously I put the H in the graphic. Yeah, because I was like, this is not even a name change, bro. Yeah, I know what the point of a name change is supposed to be.
You shouldn't do that though. You shouldn't.
I don't care, bro. No. I don't care.
Don't you want Dracovis to be a reliable source of information?
And it is a reliable source of information, yeah, bruv. What judge is being like, yeah, you know what, yeah, Bish Lasagna, yeah, a bit too much.
I know,
Bish Lasagna,
but that's his actual
cool
username though. So you have to
Bruv,
update
so
everything
dumb,
on Dracovis too, right?
Yeah, but it's only a graphic, innit? It doesn't matter.
But it's going to be confusing because I'm just saying, look, what if someone looks up at that graphic, sees that, they type in Bish Lasagna on Dracovis and nothing comes up because
you will literally find Bish Lasagna. Until this changes. Then
I know.
But then we'll combine it together. Anyway, it's not the point.
Misinformation, man.
The point
I get you combine it, but eventually you still have to look up Bish Lasagna, not Bish Lasagna later, right?
Yeah.
Like 2 years from now, when you look up Bish Lasagna, nothing's going to come up. It's like,
Yeah, but you know what?
I thought Bish
At that
Lasagna
point,
did good
you're
at the
also
Stockholm
looking up
regional a few years
2
ago.
different bis lasagnas. Yeah. Because he had 2 separate name changes because they were like, well, just taking out the H isn't enough. The next day they were like, we need another
Look, I
S as
get it.
well. I didn't even know you could change
You
your
can
name
do
that many
whatever you
times.
want. I'm just providing my feedback. I get like it doesn't
Yeah.
seem like much, but maybe you should just keep it consistent with what his actual username
Whatever.
is
I,
now.
I, thought, I thought it was dumb, That's why.
That's just my
That's literally
feedback.
the reason I did it, brother. I was just like, no, this
I
is
get
ridiculous.
you. Too much editorializing.
Anyway. Biz Lasagna also beat my brother who was in the UK, so
Yeah.
nice one on that. But I think this is like, one of the examples, right? 2-0
Dude,
against
Group
the mind
A
joke,
was stacked.
I
What
would
the
have.
heck was that one?
Yeah, Group A was wild.
And the guy that came out of
Um,
it wasn't
That's what I'm saying. So
Udin?
I
Who
didn't
is that?
recognize Udin. He's a German player, and honestly, I still don't know anything about him.
I
But
know.
I have no
Really
idea.
impressive run. I mean, the players that
Yeah,
this
man.
person beat, Freka,
Tonton,
Zephy,
yeah,
Tauntaun, Kalaxabolin.
insane.
That's
So
what
that
else
was one of the
was.
examples of a player where it wasn't even on my radar and
Yep.
just absolutely smacked everyone. Another example was, what was his name? Michael W. Was that his name? Michael W22. MW.
MWU. Yeah.
MW22, Polish player. Again, I've personally never heard of them because I think a lot of the Polish players are like, a lot of their generally well known in the Polish like, do you know what I mean? In it, like everyone knows like the main Polish players. Wasn't one on my radar. Smacking everyone. 2-0 Pablo Dinas, 2-1 Colin.
What are your
Where
thoughts
did
on Pablo
he
Dinas?
2-1?
Been like kind of like a recent name I've seen quite a bit after like 2 or 3 regionals ago.
Yeah, so I mean, this season's pretty much been his season, really.
Yeah.
He had a decent run, like towards the end of last season. He was like, I think he was like top 8 of Torino
Okay.
special event. But this
Yeah.
season's really been his breakout season,
Yeah.
and he's been sick.
Mm.
Honestly, I think because I remember him also from when the championship series started. He came for the LCQ, and I think his improvement from then. So across the entirety of the 2023 season,
Yeah.
his improvement has been incredible. Because this season he's been one of the one of the most consistent European players. Multiple top carts, I think multiple like top 4s even. So
Okay.
yeah, man, whatever he's doing is working. Do I think next year maybe he'll get a championship? Possibly. Actually, all the player profiles are broken. Yeah. So
What happened with Nighttime Clasher? He lost a Heatran? I didn't see that. He lost a Heatran on stream or something?
So
What was that about?
I didn't see. Oh, do you know what? Maybe. Do you know what? I missed a few games of day one because I was at a local as well. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I have no idea.
How you do at the local?
There was only 4 of us.
Because all the good players were at Stockholm. Is that what happened?
Yeah, everyone was at Stockholm.
Did you win it or what?
Nah, I didn't win it.
Oh my gosh! What?
Yeah.
Man's like, oh, those only 4. No big deal.
Hey, I got points. That's
No
what
big
matters.
deal. I got 4th. What did you get? What placement did you get?
I actually got 4th. Yeah.
No shot. Man's definitely spectating worlds. That's all I'm saying. Start working on that Nava Empire signs. What the heck? Who did you lose to? Who was at the local?
It was my brother and 2 other TMP players. So,
oh man,
just a small little thing.
What's your total points at right now?
I think I need 36 points.
Yeah.
There's a double this weekend, and then there's a cup the following weekend.
You should definitely. I mean, you're still going to Bologna too. Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Sammy 85. Is that the same Sammy that beat me at UIC, or is that a different Sammy?
Yeah, same one. Yeah.
I thought it was Sammy G.
That's his like Discord name or like Twitch name or something like that. Yeah.
Okay. It makes you feel a little better. He did pretty well here.
Yeah. So Sammy. So in terms of the the regular
You're in that Shadow
Team
Charm
Pizza
Ninetales
rundown.
again. I see it.
Yeah. I think it was the same team, honestly. I think. But yeah, in terms of the regular Team Pizza rundown,
Yeah.
we had, I think it was 5 players in the losers semifinals,
Mhm.
but only 2 of them got into top cut. Actually, 2 of them got into top 12, so I don't know if I call that top cut personally,
Yeah.
because they both lost. So
Mm.
it was. That's the weekly Team Pizza news.
Okay.
But this one is about Paula. Nearly a whole year on from her win in Torino.
Yep. I
She
feel good about her
absolutely
placement
smacked.
in our. I mean, arguably could even bump her up. In our tier
Could do,
list.
yeah, especially at this point as well.
Yeah, but she's been super
Because
consistent.
insanely consistent, and I think the key to this, right, is if Caleb writes off a Pokemon, yeah, use it because it
What?
will win.
What?
And
Gudra ain't winning anything, right? I never said
oh, I
Shadow
don't think it
Mantle is
was good.
bad. I just said Shadow Mantle is hard to use. It's a driver, not car. It's a decent car, but it's a way better driver. I mean,
Yeah,
look at her
Shadow
record.
Magnus
She was doing well
smacking up.
before Shadow Magnus was on her team, right? It's not a
That's
Shadow
true,
Magnus that she's just good.
but
Yo, I
Shadow
get
Magnus was smacking up these
everyone
teams, man.
run Paula's team at LA. I guarantee you ain't gonna win
He
LA
was
with this team.
smacking up these
Yeah.
teams, Brev.
Why is Turquoise not
Um,
loading right now? I'm trying to look up the profile.
yeah, because basically, a certain person who I won't mention broke the player profiles. So
What?
it's because basically the data for the teams are not revealed yet for Stockholm.
Mhm.
And so the like when we tried to import it, there was broke the whole thing.
Right.
Anyway, um, yeah, Paula absolutely insane, and also insane losers bracket run as well because she got knocked down to losers something like round 3 or
Yeah.
something like
It
that.
was semifinals, I
Like
think.
was it
I
semifinals?
think so. Because there was like some issue with the stream where like no matches started until semifinals, right?
Yeah.
So
Where
it was
let's see.
semifinals.
So
I think it
Paula,
was.
Paula,
But she probably had a
Paula.
buy or something, right? So she like it wasn't
No,
like
man, she got oh yeah, okay, it was semifinals. She got knocked down by San
yeah,
Diego,
yeah.
and then boom, just consistently winning after that.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, man, I don't know what I can say. Honestly, Shadow Magnezone looking insane. Also, you know what? Loki Skeledirge looking sick as well. I
Yeah.
mean, Skeledirge has been looking sick, but
Dude, that
man,
4-turn,
this is a good
5-turn
Pokemon, man.
users not easy to use.
It's not
Not
easy,
easy.
but if you can use it well, oh my days, this thing
Well,
has nice coverage.
that's the whole
It's
point. That's
winning
why I'm
its lost
saying
matches.
yeah. That's why I say
Yeah,
it's not easy to use. Of course, if you use it well, it's great. But
yeah. But I mean, some things you use it well and you're still not going to win. You know what
yeah, like a
I mean?
Gudra. That's true. That's a good point. Well said.
Yeah, Caleb doesn't know how to use Gudra. It
So
seems.
let's
Um,
bring Gudra to Bologna. Let's see it. Right. Let's
I don't
see
want to
it.
bring it to Bologna.
Let's see it.
um,
I can't wait to see Butters use
uh,
Gudra at LA. I can't wait. I brought my
I
Gudra
can't wait
counters
until
for
his
sure.
Brav, his Gudra is going to take out your Bastion, yeah, just straight Aquatail.
You clearly
I
have
think it
never
might even
simmed
win that
it.
matchup.
You've
Does it?
clearly never simmed it.
Does it lose the matchup?
Yeah. Let me do it for you. I mean, don't worry. I got it. I got it. We can do every spread, right? Our breakpoint lovers can enjoy this one too, right? Just so I have all our bases
Yeah.
covered.
So is it?
All right.
Don't bring your Gudra into a
You
Bastidon.
win you
Is
do
the
win if you have a 2-0 shield advantage and you survive with 17 HP. If you have 2-1 shield
okay?
advantage. Let's look at max stat product, right? Just in case I missed something. Yeah, same situation, right? Maybe let's do what max attack maybe for the breakpoint lovers. Let's see what's that one gonna do for us? Yeah, same thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Don't bring your Gudra into Bastion. Is the moral of the story there?
no. But if you have a
Um,
2-1 shield advantage into Bastion with Gudra with max attack, you do bring Bastion down to 1 HP.
mad.
Must be that break
There
point.
you have it.
Must be
There you
that
have it.
break point.
It is. Yeah, Matt Beer with the Shadow Sableye. I think increasingly Shadow Sableye. What's interesting with Shadow Sableye or just Sableye in general is that you literally have like 5 of them in a tournament. but they'll consistently perform well. So I think that's really interesting as well. I think there was there was just two Shadow Sableye in Top Cart, but one got top 6 and one obviously
It
came
does
into
look
the
pretty
final.
good. Obviously, like there are a lot of hard counters to it, right? And
That's the thing, right? Because
like,
especially because like fairies are not really about at the moment.
yeah, unless
And
you run to
Lickitung,
Sammy.
which would be the usual hard counter for a Sableye, like you would consider, right?
It's not that good
And
into
yet,
it.
because it's a shadow, exactly, if you get a bit of a energy advantage, you can, maybe you don't win the match, but you're going to take some sort of, you're going to take a shield or something like that. So, I think Shadow Sableye looks increasingly safe, and I think it's just like a good answer to a lot of common cores, as well as something to just dissuade Annihilates as well.
Yeah.
The Annihilate matchup is not awful for Annihilate, but it's just you don't really want to be
Paula
there.
didn't even have a counter user,
Um,
which is nuts to me.
yeah,
That's
man,
pretty
it's just
crazy.
that
But she built a
Skeledirge
really
doing.
good team. I mean, not even Skeletor. She has double flyer and Cresselia. I mean, to ward off. I'm just saying, like, to ward off Vigoroth, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Um, but
yeah.
good stuff. Good
Mm-hmm.
stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Real good. I'm looking forward to see her compete
Oh,
at
maybe I
Worlds for
should look at
sure.
that there.
Might make an argument for that $4 tier. Who was on our tier? Let me take a look real quick. Would we ever swap her for someone in the $4 tier? I mean, I think SJ makes a
Um,
big argument for moving up for sure. $4
yeah. I mean,
tier,
SJ
we
wasn't even
got
on the sheet, right?
Lyle, Colin, Potamon, Steiner, Rubik's, Luminous. I think you would swap it for an EU player here. It would be
I mean,
Potamon or Colin.
probably Pataman, because he's like, obviously he's really good, but if we're looking at recent,
Yeah.
he's not been performing the
For
same.
Worlds this year, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And I think like obviously again in it, yeah, like all these metrics are literally just like pulled out of our head in it, yeah. But if you were looking at worlds this year, then I think recency bias is kind of relevant, because it's like, well, who's on form right now? Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? In it, if you
Well,
look at
Paula's been
Tonton,
on
for
form for
example.
like over a month straight, over 2 months
Yeah,
straight.
yeah, yeah,
I think
literally,
Patamon had a really great run in the
at
previous
the beginning.
meta.
Yeah. And I think, you know what, again,
I don't
Tonton
think
is a good
he,
example of this as well, where
yeah.
he was really good in the previous meta. And this meta, he's fallen a bit short.
Did you see a Mind Jokes post too?
Yeah, honestly,
What do you
I
think?
think
You think it's a meta thing? I haven't really watched his
no,
gameplay under a
I don't think it's a
microscope.
meta thing. Well,
You think it's a,
he's not been on stream
oh, so we don't
recently,
even know. Yeah.
because he usually gets knocked down earlier.
Yeah.
However, I don't think it's a meta thing, because again, I think it comes down to, okay, look, what you were saying earlier, right?
And he gets
About
so
the
much reps in, right? Like it's not like he doesn't have practice in the
no,
meta.
but
Yeah.
there's so many elements to the game, right? And, okay,
Yeah.
look, what was the thing you were saying earlier, right?
Good
It was
players
about how
are
people
gonna
are,
win.
yeah,
Yeah.
good players can, like, win regardless, right?
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. So this, I don't know if this like necessarily resonates for you, because you have like followed loads of games and stuff like that, right? But for me, like when I started doing competitive Pokemon, that was like the first time I'd followed a competitive game in like 10 years, right? Or like
Yeah.
maybe a bit less. Um, and what I found interesting when I would be watching videos, this was actually when I was watching VGC, but like
Hmm.
the values are the same, right? Is you know some of these players would be commentating, let's say Aaron Zeng, for example, and he'd be talking about how like he'd be like, okay, what could I have done in that situation? Yeah, and he's like, oh, maybe if you know. It was a bit of a telegraphed move to do this, or maybe I had to cover better for this, or you know what, like this team maybe isn't built the best for these best of one strats that I need to, cover for that going into the next game, right? And the stuff the stuff he was saying, yeah, I'd be thinking like, this sounds so arbitrary, yeah. How can you know that they're going to do this, right? How can you know that this part seems like it's complete luck? And despite that, all his comments are never like, oh, we got unlucky, there was nothing we could do.
Yeah.
It's always like, well, what can I take from this, and how can I mitigate the amount of luck involved? And
Hmm.
I think this is interesting, because from a VGC standpoint, luck is a big part of their game, because nothing in the game is actually fixed, right?
Yeah.
Damage is a roll. There's so much variance when it comes to
Mhm.
like, whether moves hit or not, or like whether status conditions happen or not. So for over 10 years, yeah, VGC players have had to train their brains into thinking like, you know what, luck is a part of the game, and I need to mitigate as much bad luck as possible.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And they have way
And
more
then
luck
as
in
a
that game.
result, that's a skill. Do you know what I
Mhm.
mean? Isn't it? Yeah. And I think we haven't quite got there yet in Go in terms of the mindset wise, where a lot of people are still thinking like, oh yeah, it was an unlucky skull debuff. Yeah. Tomahawk in the first regional of the season, he bought Poliwrath, Shadow Poliwrath, with Power Up Punch and Icy Wind. Yeah. And the reason for that was partly because he was like, well, I only really need the damage from Power Up Punch and Icy Wind. But it was also Scald is a better move, but it's more inconsistent because I cannot guarantee when I'm going to get that debuff. I'd much rather not play with luck and mitigate as much bad luck as possible. If you're using a consistent debuffing thing, then you're going into it knowing that you're getting that debuff every time, right?
Yeah.
If you're pressing Scald, you need to press Scald for either one of two reasons, yeah? Either it's just the best move to press, yeah? Or because you're going for a Hail Mary and your only one win con is getting the Scald debuff. But you
It's
shouldn't be pressing Scald intending to get the debuff in a situation where if you don't get the debuff, you lose and you're better off throwing a mud bomb. That's just bad play, in my opinion.
it's not even
So,
that. It's like I've seen people play and they're complaining about the debuffs, but like it was really in Portland when I heard a lot of this, right? Early on when we
mm,
had the skull meta. And I just remember I was like thinking about in Portland when I'm like, dude, like the debuffs were not that big of an issue. Like, yeah, like if you get steamrolled by a Whiscash in the lead that debuffs you, like you run a Skarm in the lead with like your own Whiscash in the back and like a Regiseal, you're just asking to just get screwed over by debuffs because
exactly.
they have like that's a hard matchup already. If you
Hmm.
debuff, like let's say my safe swap Skarmory, and I come in with a Poliwrath, I don't care if you debuff my Poliwrath. Like
Yeah,
you have to account for those things. And
exactly.
I feel like some players that just aren't performing as well are not accounting for it, whereas the good
Hmm.
players are. I
Yeah,
don't know. I get that the skull debuff RNG thing's kind of annoying. I've never complained about it because like for me,
yeah,
it's not a factor. It's like it's unlucky sometimes, but I always assume I'm getting debuffed. That's my
exactly,
mentality going in,
exactly.
right? I'm not saying I only win this match. Like my strategy going into this is if I don't get debuff, I win. If I do, I lose. Right?
Hmm.
Obviously, at the end game, there's a situation where like if I get debuff, I probably lose this. But like that comes down to the end game. There was
Yeah,
like a whole 95% of the game that happened before that you could have done differently, or you could have brought a
agreed.
different
Yeah,
line.
yeah.
And yeah, I don't
And
know.
you know what? So like, broadly, it doesn't just come to debuffs, or like Scald or anything like that. But this is generally right. Is that I
Skull's a
feel
good
like
move too. Like
there
it just does a lot
are,
of damage.
yeah.
It's
Do you know
not
what I
like
mean?
Leaf
And,
Tornado. Yeah.
yeah. But I feel like there's generally there's, and I can't say this is the case for those players, right? But I feel like there's a lot we have to learn about competitive mindset, where it's like you can complain about, like, oh, this is not your meta, this is getting cheese and stuff like that, but you can't deny that there are people performing in this meta. So what
Hmm.
really is it? Do you know what I mean? Is the meta
Yeah.
unfriendly, or
Yeah.
is it you? And
It's
ultimately,
the meta's only unfriendly towards me.
do you know what I
That's how
mean?
it
It's
goes.
the same as the algorithm, innit? It
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
exist, and ultimately, it's and you know what the thing is again. Like maybe I personally think mentality is a big thing in the game, right? And maybe it's something that some players haven't quite grasped. You can be a good player and still, be like neglecting certain parts of the game because you're just, maybe good
This
mechanically or
sounds
something like that.
harsh. This is not directed at
Um,
mind joke by any means. This is
right.
just like a general statement. Um, but I think for players that lean in towards, oh, this is not my meta, or it's just all RNG or bad team comps,
Mm,
the simplest way I could say it is I think they just think they're better than they are, and they don't recognize that they're not. Because the good players
yeah. Mm,
they'll pinpoint why they lost.
it's true. It's
And
true.
yeah, it might be at the end
Yeah.
game one debuff, but they could have played other things differently, or they could have
Yeah.
brought different lines or whatever. Like I'm watching SJ's game at Indianapolis, and everything he does makes sense. It's a
Yeah.
really sensible play that he does, and he's just that one little thing about him makes him miles ahead of everyone else. Like I'm watching
Mhm.
other players in the top 8 of Indianapolis. The skill difference is huge. And people
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
recognize that. They think, oh, I got fifth place or fourth place in Indianapolis or sixth place, whatever, top 8. I'm only that a little bit behind SJ. No, 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 that's not true. SJ didn't get lucky with some of his debuffs, and that's why he's ahead of you. The difference is actually pretty drastic in terms of misplays, and
Mhm,
that's why I said earlier, I believe less and less that anyone could lose. Like, yes, theoretically that's true, but in actuality, that's not the case, in my opinion. I think good players. That's why, like this season, we see people like Doombug Lyle like become repeat champions, or like people like Paulasha hit like top 5 in multiple tournaments in the same meta, right?
mhm.
In
Yep.
multiple, like the high consistency, like even if
Mhm,
she doesn't win it all, right? Because there's like you could just like I don't know. I can't speak on some games or specific players' experience because I haven't seen their matches and sometimes they're not on stream, so you can only do so much. I really wish people could just collect their footage and like save it and then share or
mhm,
send it to me, right? Let me critique it because I would love to see what happened, right? I really do. And it's not like I'm saying like I know everything, but I've seen a lot of games from the caster side, and trust me, there's very few times where I look at it, I said, "There's nothing they could have done." It does happen
yeah.
once in a while, every tournament or so, but there's very few times and like in my own experience too, the times I remember vividly every time I don't compete a lot too, so obviously the losses are easy to remember. But every time I lose, there's very few times where I sit there and think I could have done nothing, right, with that team,
Mhm.
unless I just brought a completely stupid team of 3, which sometimes does happen too, and I lose because of
Yeah.
it. But when I bring a
But
sensible
even in that
one,
situation, then it's like, well,
that's on me.
that's the part you have to improve. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I shouldn't have brought that
Mhm,
team. Like that was too much of a
mhm.
gamble. Like there was no
Yeah.
reason for me to bring like let's say a mana buzz into a team that's 5 times stronger than
Mhm.
mana buzz. Like what was I thinking,
Agreed.
right? Like trying to catch like the chance of me catching a good lead with that was very slim, or catching a good Pokemon in the back end was slim too, right?
Mhm,
But but yeah, I mean like I remember so distinctly the amount of times that there's nothing I could have done, and there's very few of those times.
mhm.
Maybe against elite, but I think a lot of my team comps were just bad. Like, that was a pretty bad one. But like outside of that matchup, like that huge team comp disadvantage, a lot of my losses are on me, right? I could have done
Yeah.
something, or and like the RNG factor of just getting RPS is, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like when people say I just got RPS,
Mm.
I seriously, when I hear that, I seriously doubt it. Like I really
Well, I
doubt it.
think,
A lot of people say that. That's why they lose, right? When it's like an
yeah.
off stream match, I was like, oh, how it happens? Like, man, I got really RPS. It's like I always think like, did you? Because I am I just crazy lucky? I just never get RPS completely like in these tournaments. I don't think so, right? But I don't know.
Yeah, I think another interesting factor, like more recently, is so one of the things that a lot of people are complaining about is like, oh, this is an ABA meta, right? And the way I read that is that, obviously they're saying like people are sending out team comps that would completely lose if I used one particular Pokemon, right?
Mhm.
And even that, I feel like, is a very narrow way of looking at the game, which also indicates that it's a you problem as well. Because in that situation, right, there's a couple things. It's like, number one, well, is that one Pokemon that could, completely obliterate their team? Yeah. Is it something you're even likely to bring, first of all? Yeah. Second of all, was it something that maybe they scared off in an earlier game? Yeah. Third of all, when you're going into that match, yeah, instead of thinking like, okay, well, yeah, I know 100% this thing is going to be in the back, you kind of have to make a bit of a thingy. You have to be like, okay, well, it would make sense for this thing to be in the back, yeah, but is there something I can do to cover for it not being that thing in the back?
Mhm.
And you know what? Sometimes people make a bad read and whatever in it like, that happens. But I don't think you can be like, oh yeah, people playing stupid at ABA, because it implies that nobody's thinking when they're sending their teams in.
Yeah.
And that's not the case. Do you know what I mean? And it's
Yeah,
like
if
such a
they're not
narrow way
thinking,
of
you're
looking at
thinking
it.
even worse than them, right? If
Yeah,
they're
do you know what I
stupid,
mean?
what are
Innit?
you doing
So
to loosen the stupid team, right?
yeah, so I think this is the point where, and you know what, like you said, does it mean that people think they're better than they are? I think a lot of people will have definitely the technical skills and they'll definitely have some accolades behind them. However, no one's ever like, free from being able to improve. And again, also, I think there are other parts of the game which do require work that maybe people haven't thought of. And, it comes down to mentality. And you know what? Maybe it's some parts like, I don't know, like building, reading teams, and maybe just
Yeah.
like, I don't know, not being too assumptuous. Is that the word? Like when,
I know what you're saying. I think
yeah, do
assumptuous.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Team reading is
But
definitely a big factor. I will say
yeah,
this though, right? I do agree. This meta, ever since the Wishcash Skull meta, right? Beginning of what December
mhm.
1st, from is way because the meta hasn't really shifted much in the past few months, right? Like from the
Yeah,
last meta, it was just like Shout for Alligator, but it's not really that big of a difference. This meta for the past 5+ months has definitely been more RPS than the first 3 months of the Gligar, Lick Tongue Metacham meta from this
yeah,
September
yeah,
to
yeah,
December.
yeah,
So I will
yeah,
say that, right? Because that
yeah.
meta, in my opinion, I get it. I even said this, I feel like a number of
I
episodes
think
ago
we all
before.
agreed it was a good meta. I
Some
don't
people
think there was anything
disagreed.
wrong with it.
Some
People
people
are
just
idiots. People are idiots, bro.
true. Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
that's
Okay.
it.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. 100% agree. Right. Because they just got bored of Metacham or whatever. But
Yeah,
the
man.
meta was like, you could be bored of meta. You could say it's repetitive. That's all true. But you can't say the meta is bad just because of that. You might not
Nah, man.
like it, but it doesn't make it a bad meta. It was a very
It was a good meta, man.
balanced meta.
Yeah.
Gligar was not that OP in that meta. It was
Nah.
good, but it wasn't that OP because there
Just
were a
because
lot.
the Medicham could like fight back, you know.
Yeah. And
Um,
Lantern was actually more popular in that one. There wasn't that much charge bug. It was really hard Jeff
mhm.
that ran charge bug successfully. But
Yeah,
most people were
yeah, that
running
was it.
Lantern. They were running
Yeah.
Water Gun Lantern too. But like Lantern, not that RPS into
Mm.
Gligar
Charger Bug
even
could have
back
been
then.
a cool development if the meta didn't change like so soon after
For a while.
LAIC.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because I think that would have been a nice development later on.
Yeah,
I
for
think he
sure.
was just the only one to cotton onto it, and it was like
Yeah.
decent
He's
because
a
it was
little
good
little
against
bit ahead.
Medicham as well, you know.
Medicham, so much neutral play back and forth between Lickitung and vice
Yeah,
versa. Like it was
yeah,
just
man.
I mean, I have people that still argue about that. And they're like, well,
Yeah.
it's
But the
because
thing is, I don't think this meta is bad, you know. Obviously it's not as good as that one. I don't think this meta is bad. I don't think it's
it's
as
way more
bad as the one
RPS,
we had
but
pre-worlds. And I think people just
pre-worlds
need to
last
improve,
year,
man.
like the Noctowl
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Trevenant one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Funny enough,
Um,
that Rai said that's his favorite meta of all time.
is it actually
Because he
But
said
you know
Shadow
what? He
Swapper
was
was so good and safe.
yeah,
Yeah. He
that's why,
ran a
innit?
lot
He
of
was
low
like
nine tails too.
yeah, he was like a bit innovative then as well.
Yeah. But
Um
that meta was
yeah.
so
Personally, I
trash.
never really hate a meta because I'm always just like, well,
No, no.
like
You know how bored I was commentating some of those games where you see a Trevenant in the
yeah, but I
back
guess
with
because
like
you're doing the
zero
commentations.
shields and
Yeah.
like a Trevenant with 2 shields had nothing to do. Well,
Yeah.
no, it's not even about that. From a viewer perspective, too, it's just not fun
Yeah,
to
yeah,
watch,
yeah,
right? Like,
true.
like
Yeah.
I'm sitting there commentating, I'm like, it's over. But it's like, well, maybe I'm like, but Butters, it's over. Like, let's not try to sugarcoat it, right? We all know it's over. Like that was
Yeah.
like you just could never flip like a Sableye into Noctowl matchup either. Like it was just so
Mhm.
rough.
I
But
just think like personally, I'm like, or at least maybe from a competing standpoint, I'm like, well, okay, maybe it's more like, well, whether the meta is more or less RPS, it's like this is the challenge of the season, regardless. So you know, it's not like I'm not going to compete. You know what I mean? And like, regardless of
the
how
good
bad it
players are
might
going
be,
to come
you
out
just have
top.
to tackle it. Do you know what I mean? And so
The good players are always going to come out
yeah,
top, which means that in my opinion, it's unfortunately more of an excuse than a reason why
yeah,
someone's not winning.
yeah.
But hey,
Anyway,
if you need coaching, hit
Paula,
me up.
yeah, doing
I got you.
Paula doing a mad thing.
Yeah.
And that was all the championship events this weekend. Yeah,
Mhm.
bruv, flipping 6 championship events this weekend. Do you know? I was watching and making graphic and watching and like doing tweet and event update and watching,
Sounds like you
and then
all
I
need to
went to
hire some
local.
more people.
Bro, yeah, actually, and
You went to and
I'm
you
chatting
did
to a
all
few
this
people.
local thing just to get a fourth. Why you could just ran like 6 like unknown.
I
And
could have just run 6 unknown pretty much. Yeah,
I
yeah, it was a
can't
very
believe you
exhausting
did that
weekend. I
all
can't lie.
together. Yeah.
Anyway,
Okay, so we got some events.
yeah,
Let's
man,
cover this real quick just because we're running pretty overtime here. But we got Bounswee
yeah,
Community Day, the 19th, which is this upcoming weekend,
lit.
Sunday, 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. Is it
Mhm.
lit?
Well, I mean, the lit part is interesting new attack, right? That's the lit
New
part of it.
attack, yeah. Nothing super
Yeah.
relevant though, to my understanding. But it's got
Yeah,
high
and
jump
not yeah,
kick.
not too yeah. So interesting part about high jump kick is so in the main games it's like big damage but big drawback if you miss.
Mm-hmm.
In this case obviously we don't miss. So it's 90 power. I believe, and again, this is like data mine stuff. So obviously the 90 power is like confirmed. But data mine stuff is that it is 55 energy,
Mhm.
but it drops your. Oh, actually, you know what? That's not even that great. 55 energy. It's pretty crap.
55 energy for 90 damage.
Yeah, that's dead. Am I looking at that right? Wait, trainer
It might
battles
be.
90, right? Yeah. Oh no, sorry. Training battles 110. My bad. I was looking at gyms and raids. So
Okay.
okay, yeah. So 110, 55 energy. So that's like Mega Horn. That's like Mega Horn, pretty much.
It's exactly Mega Horn.
However,
Yeah, that's the only
yeah,
move that
exactly
is
Mega
actually
Horn.
like yeah. It's not bad,
However,
but nothing
if
crazy.
once you throw it, your defense is dropped by 4 stages. All the stages.
It's
You
way
lose all of the
worse.
defense. Yeah.
Way worse than
All of the
yeah. Is it
defense.
fairy move?
So it's a fighting move.
Oh, that's just
Yeah.
pure grass type, right?
Yeah. It's just it gets it. But obviously,
Some
high
people will
jump kick
probably use it maybe.
could be distributed to other Pokemon
Mhm.
next season. Who knows? So I think that's like the nice thing, right? Is that like even if it's not like completely PvP relevant in this situation, it opens the doors for giving it to some stuff during
What
the
the
move
heck would
update.
ever
So
use it though? 4 stages
this
is
is the thing.
nuts.
This is the thing. I mean,
Is it guaranteed
I
four
mean the
stage
thing is, it could
debuff?
be. I think it is. Oh, it could be. Wait, does it say anything about like
I don't know. I didn't read the data
greatly
mine stuff.
decrease the user's defense? Oh, a chance. Oh, it's a chance.
But the
It's a
problem is like it's
chance.
not
So
that good of a move too, right? Megahorn, we know.
yeah,
It's not
it's
like
true. Yeah, but it's a fighting Megahorn, so it makes it a bit better. I think. I mean,
yeah.
what's close combat saying? Because like, yeah, maybe it's not that great. You can't stack it as well, which is not great. Close
Yeah, all right,
combat
let's
is
compare it to
100,
other
so
stuff.
actually, close combat's 100 damage. It's not worth it.
Yeah, it's less 10 loss energy.
It's not worth it.
It's like
Close
slightly
combat's just
better
better.
than Aura Sphere for damage, but
Yeah, I mean, you have a chance of like not debuffing, and then it's just like a really nice move. But yeah.
okay. Well, we'll see. But
We will see. Who knows? Maybe it can be given something like I don't know.
what's the bonus for this one? 2 times 1/4 egg hatch distance. Yeah, like I think Niantic, if they could just do like triple XP for catches and triple Stardust for all community days, why not? Why not? What's in 3 hours of triple Stardust, right? Is it going to kill us?
Yeah,
It's like, is it going to kill you? It's just gonna make
people be grinding.
yeah, people will play the game more, right? Some people will just play a little bit of this, they get their Bounswee, like yeah, I'm good.
I
I'm
can't
gonna
remember the last time I did a community day properly. I'm not gonna lie.
even the Bellsprout one was triple Stardust, and I got lazy and stopped
I
after
didn't
2 hours.
do it.
So
I forgot to even evolve any Bellsprout.
yeah,
Really messed that
but
up.
anyway, so we have that, and then we got Necrozma coming.
Yeah, bruv, that's an interesting one.
Break it
That
down
is
for
an
us.
interesting one.
They break it down. So what's going on here?
Alright, so
We got some
obviously,
fusion, right?
yeah, we spoke about like Necrozma being released, and it seems like so we were like, oh, maybe it will have its own form, right? Similar to how they leaked the Curum forms.
Yeah.
However, it seems like you actually have to fuse it. So what I'm gonna gather here, I'm gonna make some inferences, right? But okay, so it's first releasing in the Go Fest events in Sendai, Madrid, and New York City, in-person ones, and you can make Duskmane or Dawn Wings depending on what you combine it to. So if you combine it to Solgaleo, you're making Duskmane. If you combine it to Lunala, you make Dawn Wings. To combine it, you're using a special fusion mechanism which requires fusion energy. So what kind of like comparison can we make this? I guess it's
Is it
almost
like
like a
mega
mega
energy?
evolution.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's almost like a mega evolution, I guess. And do you know what I assume? Obviously this is an assumption, but I imagine maybe they will make it similar mechanics, so like you can walk it and you'll earn some fusion energy,
Yeah.
or like stuff like that. Now what I'm assuming is, I think that Necrozma is mythical, because maybe they'll do something like Necrozma you'll only get one of,
Mm-hmm.
but then what's it, Cosmog or like the Solgaleo and Lunala will be in raids,
Yeah,
and then it's like, okay,
it should
well,
be
you
because
use that one to combine.
what's the
Um,
IVs? Is the IVs based on the Necrozma's IVs or the Lunala and Solgaleo
it would
one?
be on the Lunala or Solgaleo.
Oh, okay. You
Yeah.
know for sure.
Um,
You said that pretty
with
confidently.
well, I mean, with this kind of, it seems like it makes sense this way, right? Because it's like, well, you're taking on the typing of the thing that it's turning into. So I imagine it would also take the IVs. I guess this is speculation, but I imagine that would be the case.
So you get
Um,
energy, this fusion energy from branching special research at in-person Go Fest. And
mhm.
then also in the global, you can earn solar and lunar energy by defeating the Necrozma in raids.
Okay, so
So
Necrozma will be in raids.
yeah, for
So
global.
would that still imply that you would get Cosmog out of those raids, or would you get Necrozma? Wait, let me. Okay, Necrozma
That's a
is
good question because you're facing Dustmane, Necrozma, and Dawn Wings.
yeah.
Is Necrozma legendary or no? Or
This is what
mythical
I'm
or no?
trying to find out.
Probably it's probably not. Honestly, even if it's mythical, you probably
Generation.
could get
It's
multiple of
known
them.
as an Ultra Beast.
Oh
Huh.
yeah, yeah, you could definitely get multiple. I mean, you could get
Yeah.
multiple Deox Defense from raids, right? And that's mythical, so it's not. That's not really a
No, no.
limiting
Oh,
factor.
yeah, true. I thought. Oh, yeah, yeah. I guess it. No, but I was thinking like maybe they'd give you one Necrozma in research, and then maybe you do raids and you just get loads of Cosmog. So
No, it
even
looks
if
like
you
you
beat like
just raiding
Necrozma in
Necrozma
raids,
here, which is like
so does that
okay,
mean
but
that
like,
we?
how the heck do you get more Cosmog? Because who's going to like fuse their
Yeah,
random like Cosmog that have terrible IVs?
it's true. Um, hmm. Curious.
What's the fusion?
Uh,
Is there any benefits of fusion? Like how there's like mega energy stuff, or no? I don't think there is, right?
they haven't announced anything, so
Fusion energy,
for
it's just you
now,
just fuse it and just
yeah, that's pretty much it. So for now, it's just fusing and yeah, we don't know
yeah.
anything
So
else.
you'll obtain Cosmog candy and fusion energy when you defeat these things in raids, and you catch Necrozma in its regular form. It
Wait, then on
specifies.
Sunday, adventure through 3 ultra wormholes and encounter Cosmog. So the way they're wording it sounds like Cosmog will still be limited, but the Necrozmas will be less limited.
The Necrozma will be in raids. Like whenever you raid a
Yeah,
Necrozma, you
so
get to
those will
catch your
just be in
Necrozma,
raids.
and you get Cosmog candy and fusion energy because you need both.
So that, yeah, I would. You know what? Honestly, I'd rather it would have been the other way around.
Yeah.
Um,
The problem is like even at
but you get,
GoFest, I can't be asked for people's Cosmog because even when I do, like, it's not going to be good for Master League if we're not lucky, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
hopefully they have ways to.
Difficult situation.
It's a cool, interesting mechanic,
However,
but
a a quick thing in terms of Necrozma. So
you get a special
again,
exclusive move too. Moongeist Beam.
oh, swear down.
Yeah, Moongeist Beam
Oh,
for the
Lunala
Lunala
one,
one.
and
Is
then
that
some Steel
Dustmane?
Strike for the
And the
other one.
Dawn Wings is
Yeah.
Sunstrike Steel.
Huh.
Could be interesting. But again, I don't even know if you can use this stuff in Master League
Why?
because they're fusion Pokemon. What do you mean? You can't use Mega Pokemon and Primals.
Yeah, that's true. But the thing is, I don't think when they fuse, they have a higher stat product. They have the same stat product.
I
So
don't know. I'm just speculating that you might not be able to use it.
yeah,
I'm not saying you definitely can't, but
I,
they'll.
I I feel like you probably will. But what's interesting is, again, this is a mining thing, so it could change. But the initial moveset of Necrozma has changed. In that, it's lost confusion, gained Shadow Claw. So that makes it really interesting, right?
Mhm.
And then it lost like literally all of its charge moves. So it used to have Rock Blast, Power Gem, and Night Slash, and now it has Dark Pulse, Future Sight, Iron Head, and Outrage. So I think it kind of balances it out. So basically, you've got the options of either Psycho Cut or Shadow Claw in the fast move department, and then all the charge moves are over 50 energy with Iron Head, Dark Pulse, Future Sight, Outrage. So I can imagine something along the lines of like Dark Pulse, Outrage, maybe like Dark Pulse, Iron Head, but I don't see Future Sight being of much use.
Yeah.
Um, maybe Ironhead Outrage, if you use like Shadow Claw or something like that. So I think it makes it interesting. Obviously not no quick moves, but the
Most
um
Master League stuff doesn't have quick moves anyway.
yeah, do you know what I mean? And it's like it's a pretty bulky Pokemon if it's the well, I mean both of them are pretty bulky Pokemon to be honest. So yeah, could be interesting if it stays like that. In addition, also obviously we're getting Marshadow, and there was a mine of the Marshadow moveset, which we didn't have
It doesn't
before.
have the
And
stats to compete in Match League, right?
what, the Marshadow?
Yeah. It's also
Okay, we
mythical.
were
You can get
comparing it with
one.
Annihilate, right? Because they're both the same typing. I think it does. Or
I
does
mean,
it not?
it's not that good in open Match League anyway, so.
Yeah. But as in like okay,
Well, you can't use it in Premier.
Let's see. So Master League.
I don't know. I don't think Marshadow's in PV Poke.
Oh, you have to go on to the other one.
The
Where it's
speculative.
like yeah, I think maybe.
I don't know.
No, okay. But yeah, Marshadow mined with counter and poison jab, and then has some really, really interesting charge moves. Again, whether these change or not, we don't know. But it has close combat, fire punch, thunder punch, and ice punch, and rock slide. So moveset looking okay.
It's okay, but I don't think it actually
Moveset
has
looking
a lot
okay.
of utility in Master League.
I don't know,
What are you
man. There's no
beating? What are you
fighter in the
beating with
Master
it?
League at the moment.
Yeah,
Huh?
because it's not worth running. You could just run Annihilate if it was that good to run fighting.
Okay, so look, there's no fighter in the
The same
Master
typing,
League,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
But you've got coverage over everything that would go against a fighter, right? You
The
got
problem
rock
is like
slide if you
Dialga, like the main steal you see these days is probably Dialga and
Dialga. Yeah.
Solgaleo.
Okay.
And you're doing neutral to Solgaleo, right? So not ideal there. And then
Yeah.
Dialga, you're just getting out Dragon Breath. Like you had the shield probably to win that matchup. At that point, why don't you
Oh,
just
you
run
don't know
Fairy?
because you don't know the stats. Maybe it's it's got
I could have sworn we looked into Marshadow stats and it wasn't good. What's this? How do I get it as speculative? I'll just
go into like settings.
Gen 9 speculative.
Let me see. Marshadow has 265 attack.
Yeah, I don't think it still doesn't come up. I don't know unless I'm spelling Marshadow wrong. How do I spell it?
You know what? Maybe I checked it on
You checked on something. I remember we checked it and it was like it was not that.
Okay, Marshadow 265, 190, 207.
I don't.
Oh, it's similar to Dragonite. That's why.
Yeah.
Stats. Yeah.
How similar are we talking about?
Like nearly the same. It's like it's got Dragonite has a bit more defense. Marshadow has a bit more. So
Attack.
263, 198, 209.
And they might nerf it too, right? Don't they nerf a lot of the legendaries and mythicals before on release?
So basically, Marshadow's slightly less bulky than Dragonite. So
Annihilate Berry has more HP than Dragonite,
oh.
and it's got similar defense, maybe about like 15 less. What's Marshall's stats? Just name it so I could just see compared to Annihilate.
It's so on the like the base stats.
Yeah, base stats
are 265, 190, and 207.
190 and 207. Okay, so similar HP, more defense and more attack than Annihilate.
Yeah.
Maybe okay. I don't know. Maybe it's better than maybe I'm like downplaying. I don't love the moveset though. I don't think the movesets
I think
are
the moveset interesting because it's like gives it coverage, but
counter's fine, right? But then what else? Like close combat is like so awkward. I'd rather have cross chop or something. And then what else is it? The punch, the elemental punches are like
punches. Yeah.
The problem with the elemental punches is unless you're running like a Dragonite, the ice punch is not going to do anything into the dragons.
Yeah, that's true. True. I guess it's like you would probably default to rock slide.
It's better to have like a shadow ball or something. The moveset Annihilate is better in my opinion. Rock slide? Like, what are you going to throw rock slide? Like, you're going to throw rock slide at Giratina Origin? Like, you're getting cooked. What are you throwing rock slide at? Like, what are you beating with it, right? You ain't going to throw rock slide at Dialga. And what else can you beat? What can you theoretically beat with it? No one runs extra draw anymore in this meta.
So I imagine it would
cook
be
you. It's non-stab rock slide too.
And like
but there's no steel types besides Dialga and Solgaleo.
Yeah,
pretty
so
much.
Dialga, Ho-Oh.
Ho is going to probably beat it too. You could definitely take a rock slide, I think.
Yeah.
Ho also, you just shield to an Incinerate, just starts adding up. Also, if you're bringing a fighting to handle Ho-Oh, just bring something else to handle Ho-Oh.
Yeah. But I guess you coverage over Ho-Oh, but yeah, you're right. I don't know, but it'll be interesting.
I just don't want. Look, I'm not trying to be a hater. I just don't want people to be misinformed and get too excited over Marshadow and then just have it be completely garbage.
I mean,
so, look, Look, you can
I'm not
hype up
informing
all
him of
you can hype up all
anything.
the bad Pokemon you want, Anicor. I'm here to bring people down to earth, right?
Yeah. Nobody used Shadow Magnezone.
No, Shadowbring's
Whatever
has some
tops the
fun.
regional next, just don't
You
use
saw
it.
that graphic from PVC, right? Where he's like
Yeah, that was
talking
interesting.
about Pokemon. What do you think is going to be the next Pokemon that makes it out of the list?
Um,
So
let
this
me
is
see.
PVC came up with a graphic. It's funny. He just like ripped off the regional graphic, but
Yeah, I rate
it's fine
that.
though. It's just a little confusing when you look at it. But most top
I
eights
love it.
without a win, including APAC playoffs. And at the top of the list is 29 placements in Manabuzz. Hasn't won a regional yet. Charizard
Mhm.
at second, which is crazy. I didn't think it was that many top eights of Charizard. Carbink at 8. Clotsire at 8. Diggersby at 6. Bastion at 6. Tremna at 6. Feraligatr at 4. And then the rest get kind of weird.
Mm.
But
Okay, so I feel like Mandibuzz is probably only a matter of time, right?
you
Do you
think
know what I
so?
mean?
What do you
It's
mean?
like
There's only so much time left. What do you mean a matter of time? There's only like
as
what?
in like
How many tournaments are
I
left?
could.
It's LA, Bologna,
So
PJCS,
there's LA,
NAIC,
so
I guess.
LA, Bologna, PJCS, NAIC,
Probably some qualifiers. Like you have
Korea
to recognize
playoff.
that like these aren't like, oh, there's a few chances at LA. There's one chance, right? There's one
Yeah,
chance at
yeah,
Bologna. There's
yeah.
this is
Korea playoff, Santiago, um, Lima,
I'm a
Mexico
Amanda Buzz
City.
enjoyer, but I understand why it hasn't won one.
There's
It's
about like 12 tournaments left.
yeah.
And I could see it being one of them. I could see it being one of
You
them.
know Mana Buzz loses like if you counter swap a Gligar, right? In the zeros.
Yeah, I know. But like, so does
There's like a very
Voltorb. But
specific
I
way
could
you have
see
to
it.
win that match,
Yeah,
but
yeah. But I could see it. I could see it being one of them. But I would think also, you know what? Clods ain't bad. You know, I could see that winning sign.
you know what my vote is.
Your vote is none of them. Oh yeah, your vote is Bastion.
Oh, I'm gonna make it happen.
Yeah,
I'm gonna make it happen.
there's
Anyway,
an opportunity.
there is the opportunity. So, okay. Well, that wraps it up for our events for this stuff. We'll talk about some tea real quick. It was Lyle's tweet. So Lyle
Mhm.
Jeffs had a tweet. Actually, while we're at it, can you pull up how many Canadian players made Worlds last season? Qualify for Worlds.
Last season. Where am I supposed to find that?
So, Dilap, Shady Equation. What do you mean? Where are you supposed to find this? You run the site.
I know.
Shady Equation, Lao
Oh,
Jeffs.
are you reading it now?
No, I'm just recalling off the top of my
Oh,
dome,
right.
right?
Okay. Let me see. All
Um,
right. So we got. Who do we got?
who qualified?
Uh,
I know Shady Equation didn't end up going, but Dilap and but
so
it still counts as
Dialab's
qualified.
one.
Do you have a system for this, or are you just like kind of just
Nah,
looking
I'm just
through?
looking. Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. What Lau's tweet said is, "I'm happy for all the new Worlds qualifiers I'm seeing. But I'm sad that I'm still the only Canadian that's qualified. The CP system is just not feasible for many Canadians. In the future, I'm hopeful that there's a way to address this." He posted this on May 7th, so obviously since then, um,
2 more players.
Jocko Loco and
Yeah. And they had to leave the
wait,
country to do
who
it.
was the second one? The Tor.
The
Oh,
Torian.
the Torian. Yeah, qualified.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had to leave the country. Yeah, they had to go to international tournaments for it. I mean, I guess they had to, but the thing is that that's his whole point. You have to leave Canada for these two, because most
Mhm.
of the tournaments, like the Canadian tournaments, is Toronto and Vancouver, and they're on other sides of the country. That's like
Mhm.
New York and LA, right? Or maybe New York and Seattle, because they're like more on the same like latitude. But that being said,
And Canada's a big country.
it's a huge
I
country.
mean, everyone's going to know that.
But Laos also says the vast majority of players on the list live in the greater Toronto area. And I do agree living in Toronto is by far the best way to have a chance to qualify for Worlds. Canada had access to 2 regionals this year that were essentially on both ends of the country. All the other regionals are and ICs are international travel. Living in Toronto, in the greater Toronto area, we have access to local events, but many people in other parts of the country don't. Traveling to US to attend regionals is not cheap. There are added costs as all flights are international. Drivable regionals have allowed me to attend 6 this season, but this is not the case for much of Canada. And yeah, and he was saying, I'm hoping in the future that Canada be split into a different rating zone to make qualifying worlds more accessible for the majority of Canadians that don't live in southern Ontario, which is where Toronto is. What is your thoughts on that?
Do you know what? I think he makes such a valid point, because where we would I mean, the 500 bar is it's whatever in it, yeah. But I think honestly, prior to him saying anything, I would have also assumed that the 500 bar was fine for Canada as well. And it's really, really obvious that it's not.
Mm-hmm.
Because even if you get your locals in, you still need like a couple events. Do you know what I mean? Innit?
Yeah.
And it does seem kind of difficult, like I said, it's a big country. Um, the two events that are actually in the country are like on opposite ends, and then it's like, okay, well, let's say you're on the opposite ends, right? Like, let's say you're over here, you're in Toronto, um, and you're like, okay, well, maybe I can make some US ones on the East Coast, yeah. But like, how practical actually is it to make those? It's probably still, decent amount of money. The same on the other side as well. Like, I don't know what the closest tournaments to the west coast of Canada are, but again, it can't be cheap.
Mm-hmm.
If it costs that much to fly in the US, then flying from outside the US to inside the US must be insane. So
Mm-hmm.
honestly, I think those are such valid points. One thing that really confuses me though, right, is the other games have had this system for literally years. What are they doing? As in, like, why? Because there's so many things where this season we're looking at it and we're like, yo, there's these flaws in the CP system, right? Were they just like, are they just not bothered about it in the other games? Do they just
I
not
think
see them as
they have
flaws, or
larger
just have they got
kickers.
what? So they
So
get more CP.
yeah,
This is what you're saying.
because right now for
Oh, because
Go,
there's so many
because
players.
yeah, so Go we have like 100 person per tournament, maybe
Yeah.
roughly. You have to do pretty well to get any
Mm,
points. They have
that is
600
so
plus
true.
players, 1,000 plus players. You get in the top
Yeah.
half, you get some points probably, right? Or you get top 300, you get something. And
So regional championship points. If with a kicker of 256, half of the players get 40 points. Yeah, that's mad.
at a
With a kicker of
regional,
512, yeah, a regional.
and
With a kicker
these
of 512,
all these
half of them get 30.
VGC has like over 500 easy every time. And
Yeah,
I
yeah, you're
honestly, I
right.
think like if
Yep.
you're getting in the bottom like 300, 400 players, you're probably not complaining about Worlds because you already know you're probably not going to qualify or do
Yeah,
well,
true, 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 true. Yeah.
right? So for them, they get more bang for their buck. They also get more prize money.
Yeah, yeah, true,
So
true.
it pays a
Ah,
lot of
yeah,
these
yeah.
trips pay for
Oh, yeah, and then
themselves.
they get the whole little I guess I don't know how relevant that whole travel award thing is because like realistically, if you're that high up on
Well,
the
their travel award
leaderboard,
stuff is
then
even more weird because they
yeah,
get
because
travel
they get
awards
to the
for
ICs in it.
internationals
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like if you're that high up on the board anyway,
So
then like
so
you're not
for
complaining
for
about qualifying
for
anyway.
for instance, for a regional, first place gets
Mm.
$10,000 for TCG.
Bombo clock.
That's a
Yeah, that's
lot.
mad. Yeah,
That's 4 times the amount for Pokemon Go.
damn.
But the thing is, top 32 get 1,000, which is
That's sick.
yeah, which is top 5 get 1,000 for Pokemon Go, which is not bad.
Mm.
And obviously they have a lot more players, right? But the thing is, if you're performing very consistently at the top, a lot more you can cash in.
So we may need
For
a
VGC, you get
rework, even if it's just
6,000
for
for the
Go,
first. Yeah.
because
But I
obviously
think the biggest
the
thing is
numbers just got going up.
but money aside, right? Because I don't think earning that money from
Yeah, yeah,
VGC to
yeah,
TG is like easy, even if it's more. It's the
right.
kicker. Again, this
Yeah,
is why I'm talking
yeah,
about
that's a big
accessibility,
thing.
right? More people playing the game would be good for everyone, right? But the
Mhm.
kicker is huge because they have over 500 players with VGC TCG every single time, I believe, which
Mm.
means that you get top 500, top 515. Oh no, sorry, sorry. I see. No, you need over 1,024 for the kicker for the 20
Yeah,
points.
yeah,
But still, over 500, you get kicker for 256, right? Top
yeah.
256, you get 30 points.
Do you
So it's a
think
decent amount. So you get some points
do
every
you think
time.
Swiss affects how likely it is you are to get into that championship point range as well? Do you know what I mean? Because it's like
So I
maybe you're
think
not gonna
Swiss.
cut.
No, so I think the thing with
No?
that is with seeding are my like I'm not actually even concerned. Like I don't think Swiss is even as necessary.
Right.
Like I don't think Swiss versus seeding is actually honestly Swiss might be even more of a crapshoot because Swiss there's no seeding for them. They just start off fresh. It could be
Yeah,
Wolfie
yeah,
and
yeah.
Aaron saying round one,
Yeah.
right?
But in
Obviously,
terms of
the way
like
the Swiss
in
works,
terms
it could
of
be different.
how consistently you would be able to get championship points. I'm not talking about like winning or top cutting, just championship points. Do you think Swiss is like a better system
I don't think
to
so.
provide championship points to players?
I don't think so. I think
No.
I think double elim is fine even if we go from either 100 players to 500 players. Like
Okay.
your chance of getting championship points is not that much lower. I think you end up playing less games, but I don't even know if you play less games. I mean, honestly, that's not even true if you go to losers early. But
Mm.
mm,
Yeah, I hadn't thought about it until
how
just now,
many
so I
how
was
many
wondering. So.
Canadians went to Worlds last year or qualified Worlds last year? Do you know?
I think it was just 3, right? It was literally the ones you said.
It was just those three.
So Dialap, Shady, and
That's
who
not
was the last one
necessarily
I
like
said?
a good thing either, though, right? But the thing is,
Yeah.
there's more people
But
that
it's
qualify
different
for.
from last
There's
year
more
because
people qualify for Worlds this year in
yeah,
general,
yeah,
and the
it's
fact that they
different
still
last
only
year
have
because it's like you
three
had to
from
win it.
Canada, right?
You had to
There's
win it.
going to be. I think they're going to like some of the Canadians are going to make a push for more qualified by the end of the year. And honestly, at
Yeah,
the
yeah,
end
for
of the
sure.
day, I think proportionally it'll be similar to last year, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's a good system because last year it was the same thing for them, right? It's not like they had more Canadian tournaments. They just had to
Mm,
travel to all these NA tournaments for a chance at top two. Obviously, I
mm.
get that Canada is less populated than the United States, but I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
there's that as well. Actually, that's true.
but that being said, I think he does bring some valid points. I don't know. The
Yeah,
championship points
it's a
is like
difficult one.
the point system's
The thing
weird,
is, I
right?
still, I
I have like
still
a lot of
feel
mixed thoughts
like,
about it, so we talk about it a
yeah,
lot.
I still feel like there's some reworks that are necessary. I hadn't thought that Canada came in that discussion, but now I'm thinking maybe.
Also the thing with the travel award too is weird because there's like travel award like domestic versus international.
Yeah.
You know Canada counts as domestic, right? Like they don't get like
Oh, that's dead.
yeah, but it's actually international. And you know how far it is to
Yeah,
fly from Canada to Hawaii?
bare far, bro. It's
Ain't
basically
cheap.
Europe.
And the thing is,
Uh,
you ain't really in the running for travel award either unless you're Lao Jebs because how you gonna get the
mm,
points? It's like a lose-lose situation, right?
yeah,
Like
it's true.
Canada to Hawaii is not cheap at all. But what else are you going to do? Right? Let me just search Toronto to Hawaii just out of curiosity, see how it is, and I'll just put in the world states actually as what was the world states
I don't
like
know, like
the
17 or something like
15th to the 20th. We'll just put it that way. You show up on
that.
Thursday.
Yeah.
That's probably about right. Yeah, you go from there to Hawaii. Well, there aren't even actually available flights for that time. Maybe there's alternate flights. Uh, I don't know. It's about 800 ish or so. Canada, yeah, which is, I mean, it's not cheap. It's cheaper than I thought it was gonna be though, but
Mm.
800 Canadian or so. It's not just for a return trip, but
No,
um,
it's not bad, you know.
but Hawaii also is not cheap for most of the U.S. because
Mm.
prices are already pretty high compared to other countries in this country, and then you're flying to the most remote states in the whole country.
Yeah,
It's cheap for me because I happen to be as close as you can be to that remote state. But if you're in New York City, that's a far flight.
it's
That is
peak. Yeah.
yeah. I'll just put in New York City just as an example. Like this is, but again, the travel word stuff is. I don't know how they account for it though, right? Like, is it distance travel? How they account for it? I don't know. It's just it's weird. The travel ward
Mm.
thing in general is also not. Yeah, so it's about like $1,000, maybe a little 900 or so for basic economy to fly from New York to Hawaii. It's not cheap.
Yeah.
I don't know. The travel award concept in general is so weird to me because people are traveling to all these tournaments for the travel
I
award.
know, man. Yeah, this is what I don't understand because I'm like, well, does that really balance it out? You know, I guess it's a few thousand. Okay, domestically, I'm like, I don't know if it really balances out, right? Um, in terms of the foreign travel award, like let's say for example Europe, yeah, I think it kind of does balance out because it's like, well, if you do well at tournaments, you get money anyway. But it's like, going to a few tournaments probably costs you, like, let's say
It's
you
a
go to 3
gamble.
tournaments, yeah, it's a gamble, but it's like if you're in the running, it's more worth it money wise as opposed to in the US, right? Because here it's like the travel awards like a few £1,000s, and if you travel to like 3 or 4 tournaments, that's probably like a third of that. Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's like if you see that you're in the running, and then you can potentially earn some extra money on the way because obviously you're in the running, so you're obviously earning money when you go to these tournaments. So it makes more sense here, but in the US, I don't know, man. I don't know. It does sound like some people might just be I don't know, hemorrhaging money for the travel award.
Yeah,
Seems a bit silly, but I don't know. Who knows?
that's weird.
Who knows?
Anyway,
yeah.
Well, I don't know what
I
the
think
perfect
next
system
season
is.
should hopefully be exciting though.
I don't
it's
think
like,
they'll separate Canada from NA though. It's just weird.
Yeah, but
I don't know what
don't
their
know.
solution is. Maybe host more tournaments in Canada. But the thing
There
is,
needs to be something done at the very least. You know what I mean?
I don't know
You
what
know,
they
like we were
do.
saying
Like
as
I don't
well,
think you
like
realize like
VGC
the middle of
locals.
Canada is like pretty like rural.
Yeah. But then having a 500-point bar for a rural place is a bit wild as well.
Yeah. It's stuff. I don't know. But we'll see. Anyway.
It's tough out there. Right?
What?
Is that not a Canadian thing? No.
Say
I don't
say
know.
it again.
No,
do it one more time.
Oh. Is that not what they do?
I don't
know.
I'm not
really
Canadian, but
Canadian.
that was weird. Let's just put it that way. I think it's time
say,
for us to wrap up. Do we have any tournaments this upcoming weekend or no?
Yeah,
we
do.
Qualifiers,
So,
but no like broadcasted regionals, right?
Yeah, actually, what is even going on this weekend? This weekend is 18th, 19th. There's no LATAM stuff. There's no regionals. Do they maybe have the South Korea? Yeah, the South Korea playoffs are this weekend.
Yeah, but nothing broadcasted.
Yeah, that's it.
And then
that's it. And then the following weekend, there's just like bare stuff. There's Taiwan, there's Los Angeles, Lima, Mexico City.
Yeah, let me check out the numbers real quick for LA, if you're curious. Prediction: how many you think? There wasn't actually a lot at Stockholm. I thought there'd be more.
Yeah, I guess it was cheap, but also I think a lot of from a lot of players who are like, well, they've already got qualification, so they felt less like
they're just leaderboard
need
tracers,
to actually go. Yeah. So it would literally be like locals, travel award people. I think, you know what, when you get to this point in the season as well, yeah, it's like you have to make that decision. Like, well, am I realistically within range that I can qualify if I haven't qualified already?
Yeah.
And then it's like, if so, then you go to an event, right? If you have qualified already, what's the point of going to an event?
Yeah.
And if you're chasing travel award, then you're going to go to the event. So
I imagine it's for like the glory, I guess, of the.
Yeah, there's also that as well. But do you know what I mean? In it, like, it doesn't necessarily encourage loads of people to go.
Yeah.
And I would say for LA, I'm going to say 100. I'm going to be generous.
117.
117?
Yeah. We'll probably hit past 126 by the time the tournament starts.
That'd be nice. Nice little top 16.
Dude, NAIC's at 259, roughly.
Yeah. Hopefully what T. Wastel was saying is true, because I think I read that as well somewhere, which kind of makes sense, I think.
If we don't even hit the 256 kicker, that's going to be very unfortunate.
Yeah.
That's going to hurt a lot of people's chance of worlds, potentially, if that's their last hurrah. I mean, it's going to be their last one either way, because, but if they need some final points, so.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes. Well, best of luck on your any future cups, Anicor. Best of luck. Hopefully, only 4 people or less show up to those two, so you can cross that.
Unfortunately, there's going to be loads of people this weekend, so I actually have to concentrate.
Well, if you need scrims, let me know. See. All right. Well, bring on the full clown stuff for next week, because it's pretty much it.
I'm going to
make the full
thing. I'll make sure. No. Next week is the whole thing without the nose. And then the following week is the nose.
All right. So you owe me, what, 3 more weeks?
3 more weeks, yeah. So there's
that
2 weeks.
Sound right? Something's wrong.
It's literally right, man. Calculate.
I don't think it's right, but I could be.
Calculation. Right. All you need to do, yeah, is work out the date that you got to legend, yeah, and the date we first recorded.
I'm getting a math lesson from the mathematician.
Yeah, bro. You've been making bare math mistakes today, innit? So I don't know.
What other math mistakes was I making? What do you mean?
I can't remember. It was at the beginning. Oh yeah, it was about that like whole
Battle Frontier. You let me know.
Yeah,
you let me know.
Stuff.
Let me know when Ancient Power wants
I ain't letting you know, bro.
Want something to smoke.
I
We're
ain't letting
ready.
you know.
We're ready. Sounds like someone's scared. I ain't scared. My team's not scared. We'll
All
take you
right,
off.
cool. I'm scared. Yeah. If that's what it's gonna take to get you to drop it, then yeah, cool. Why not?
All right.
I ain't let
Well,
you know, bro.
we'll catch you all next week with
All
a new co-host. All right. Peace out.
right. So-